Jastin, A through Z.
M as in mother.
Well, that was the wrong letter. You were supposed to pick.
As an otter? I don't know.
You were supposed to pick an H, or you could have picked a V. I would have even made a special, change in the rules if you had picked a C, because you know what, guys, we did it. We fucking did it. There has been justice for Chris.
Yes, there has.
Yes.
Been. Yes, guys, we did it. You watched. Justice for Chris. We talked about this last week and what we've been watching and whatnot. And you know what? I mean, it was a pretty good episode. I liked how it went hella in depth with it. It went way more in depth with it than even the Dark Side of the Ring did on the Von Erich family. The one thing I don't like is I thought the Von Erichs had way more input into Ironclaw than they did, which really kind of surprised me.
Same.
Yeah. Me too.
And that really kind of threw me off. But, with that too, like, it really kind of hit me too with it. I felt like they were trying to give Fritz a way out again, and that kind of bothered me. Because let's be real, guys, Fritz was a bad guy too. Why are they trying to act like he wasn't a bad guy? I don't get it. But we did get justice for Chris. I do want to correct myself a little bit too. I think I incorrectly, I had said, I know I said it at least off, at least if I said it to just you guys. But I think I said it on the podcast that Fritz sold pictures of his dead son. I was wrong on that, kinda. What it was is when David died, his first son after Jackie, right? When he died, at the funeral that they had at the place, where like 3,000 people showed up, 3,000 to 8,000 people, whatever it was, when they showed up, he didn't sell pictures of the dead body, but he did sell pictures of David. And he marked the price up because it was the same pictures that they would sell during the regular events for $3. He upsold them for $10 at the funeral.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot better than his dead body.
It is. So I wanted to give Fritz the benefit of the doubt for still being a monster, less of a monster than what I thought. I misremembered it. I went back to where I'd heard it from to double check for this episode. And I was wrong. He just marked up the pictures of his dead son by 333%. Still ghoulish, but not completely monsterish.
Yeah, and that just feels like a story like, how did all these documentaries and everything miss that? That just seems like something where if you found out that, how could you not put it in something? Like, how could that miss any documentary and everything like that? So it's just God to relieve, because if it was true, it's like, man, all these documentaries are purposely glossing over that. Then it feels like an agenda. So it's kind of a relief because I wasn't seeing that anywhere.
It was, I misremembered it. I misconflated things because he was doing it at the funeral and it was the son that died, and I did misconflate it. And this was something I had heard originally 2 years ago. So I misconflated it. That is my bad. So I wanted to make sure I gave that correction with what the actual story was. But he's still a monster. He's just not completely as monstrous as I thought.
Just not a monster for that reason.
Yes, he's a monster for so many other reasons. But oh man, when they fully flesh out the story of Chris, as much as a hour-and-a-half documentary can. Oh God, it's just it's a sinking feeling.
Yeah, that was really sad, man.
Just the one Von Erich that wanted it more than all of them, but couldn't.
Yeah.
Oh. And when you get into the story too of, who was it, Mike? Potentially leaving him pills to kill himself. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
God, it's just one of the darkest stories ever.
Yeah. Some of that stuff was hard to hear, and it was stuff I hadn't heard before. So I was surprised because I figured a lot of this would just be, oh, I'm going to know most of this, but I was actually surprised at some of the stuff that was in there. But maybe David? Is that the one who's left?
No, Kevin.
Kevin, sorry. I meant to say him. Kevin, you could tell that he really wanted some of that stuff to be known, and you could just tell that even like he said, he endorsed the movie, but it wasn't the full story. And you could just tell that bothered him. Like,
I think he had to sign off on the movie. I know that. I think maybe his nieces didn't know it was coming like that, and they just kind of got wrapped up into it. He had to have, because it is his story. Like, it's Kevin's story. But I think, like you said, Jastin, I think he wanted it. I think also when it was all said and done, I think felt bad for what happened to Chris. Like, just omitted, but even when you find out with Carrie that, like, he didn't lose his foot in the accident.
Yeah, there was so much about Carrie that was surprising to hear. Like, even the fact that he was a family man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-existent in that fucking movie. But, like, and then you see, like, videos of him with his daughters and shit. You're like, bro. Character development. Come on.
Yeah, it made it seem like he was actually just this amazing family man. This guy, like, he loved being a dad type of vibe is what it sounded like. But yeah, to your point though, what you were saying, like, yeah, the fact that he didn't lose his whole foot, like, in the accident or whatever, it was after an accident in the ring that caused it to be worse, right?
He got foot damage. They surgically fixed it. Went back to wrestling way too quick. Was so drugged up on painkillers because of the damage done from accident. Did not know he broke his ankle while wrestling. And so ankle break plus foot damage plus doing all kinds of more damage because you're wrestling on it. They had to amputate his foot. Because fucked. That is tragic as fuck, which is redundant to say when you're talking about the Von Erich story.
Yeah.
Like, there's like, what, 5 things that are good that came out of that family, kind of like, Kevin, what's happened with him, like, Carrie Von Erich's daughters, them having the life and them having, all this stuff, and like them having good memories with their father and stuff like that. But like, so much tragedy.
And also just like, I didn't realize just how much they truly are like legendary in establishing what wrestling you see on TV is now. Like, I feel like they sort of touch on some of it in the movie, but not really in the same way. But they're like, whoever it was that was like, no, this is actually like the wrestling you see today is because of them. then that was kind of interesting.
When it came to like nationwide wrestling and things like that, when it came to wrestling being like a full on like primetime television thing, that was started with through the Von Erichs promotion. There was WCCW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just that whole presentation, the entrances and coming out to your music and stuff like that, using multiple cameras to film it. That was
a lot of
that was them. And like they said, that's still done today.
I didn't know entry
there's hella
music.
cameras filming wrestling, and everybody has entrances now. And
yeah, like I didn't know entrance music started because of the Von Erichs. Crazy.
Yeah.
But like even some of the things I know they didn't touch in the documentary or any of this other stuff, but like some of the stories I had heard previously about the Von Erichs too was when Kerry was caught with drugs. And I believe it's Kerry. Not the second time when he was going to go to jail before he killed himself, but the one time at the airport, he got caught with some drugs. And to write that into the wrestling story that the Freebirds planted the drugs on him because they had to keep up the image that the Von Erichs were all American good old boys. Can't be caught with no drugs.
Yeah.
Those dirty Freebirds planted it on your heroes.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Back in the day when they truly cared about kayfabe, they did all kinds of crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
There's stories that like wrestlers like being married for 20 years and their spouses didn't even know like that it was kayfabe. You know? And so there's the story, I forget, it was a wrestler from like the 70s. He was a heel and he used to just get so much flack that like his wife started showing up to events with a gun, thinking she would have to protect her husband because spouses didn't even know. They kept kayfabe so hard they weren't even telling their spouses. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And also it just kind of speaks to kind of the pressure that these guys are under to keep that image. And sometimes that line gets blurred between who you are and who you portray. You know what I mean? It all kind of blends together. And I think a lot of that pressure, I'm sure, is a part of what led to depression and the expectations and trying to live up to not only what their dad wanted, but this image, this impossible image to upkeep that their father created for them.
Oh, yeah.
In the wrestling ring.
It just for wrestlers
they
in
had
general.
to be those baby faces with no flaws and, like you said, all American, and you know, we are perfect and we look perfect, and these are the bad guys over here. So it's, how could you possibly live up to that?
Yeah, because how do you even know who you are at a certain point? Like you're not allowed to be yourself.
You're
ever.
not.
And I'm not saying that mental health is perfect in wrestling nowadays, but you have to believe the dropping of full-on kayfabe has genuinely probably benefited a majority of wrestling's like mental health. And I'm not saying it's perfect or anything like that, but just being able to, you know, go do an interview and be yourself. And you just, you know, the fact that you can be yourself at times publicly has to take some of that pressure off.
Yeah.
No, I know some wrestlers still kind of keep in it. Like, I mean, you gotta love when Dirty Dom trashes his deadbeat dad in just a regular interview. It's funny. You know, or MJF at the beginning of Hollywood Demons, where he's like, unless you're deaf, dumb, or stupid, I'm MJF. You know, like that type of thing. Like, you know, that's fun. That's, you know, that's them having fun with the character. That's not, I have to be this no matter what.
Yeah, it's a different kind of thing,
Like
you know. And some people
it's a
still
choice.
hold it really dear and still do it. They don't care what you know. You know, I forget what wrestler said it, but it's like, you know, you might you might think that, or you might know that wrestling is fake, but when you see me, you're gonna know I'm real. Or there was some kind of a quote like that. And there are some guys that really take that seriously. You know, they still will keep kayfabe. They don't care what anybody says. Oh, well, yeah, he may be fake, but I'm real or whatever. You know, there are people who still, and there are old school guys that are like, you know, kayfabe is what ruins, not keeping it ruins storylines. It ruins the suspension of disbelief, this, that, and the other. And, you know, I've heard arguments on both sides, but being that wrestling is what it is now, it is more of a relief, I think, that we're being more real about both sides of it. Like, sure, maybe there were some great things you could do when people felt like, oh, everything I'm watching is real. And I'm sure it was easier to make people invest and stuff like that. But there were a lot of bad things about old school wrestling. You know, so many wrestlers dying young, the drugs, the steroids, the abuse, the physical abuse, sometimes the female abuse, you know, there's a lot of bad shit about old school wrestling. So I don't like fully glorifying that time period either. You know, be fair about both sides of it, you know. There's a
Exactly.
lot of shit that's better about today's wrestling.
Yeah, and I think like look at somebody just like the Undertaker. The fact that he could just kind of be himself now. It's so funny. He was in it for so long, and it's not like he was. I know there were times he was hard kayfabe, but like you can tell he's still kind of trying to like learn how to be himself in an interview because he was just in it for so damn long. Like, you know, and he wasn't doing the shit like fucking Triple H or Shawn Michaels where they got to do the DX shit. They got to go do that type of shit and get it out. You know what I mean? Like he was the most serious fucking guy ever for 20 fucking plus years. Like, you know, and you could tell he's kind of still learning how to be that, like just to be himself in front of people and stuff and to like tell stories and stuff like that. But if you ever want to have a good time, go listen to Undertaker talk shit about Hulk Hogan. Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, I love it. And it's one of those things that proves when Hulk Hogan was like, oh, when I got booed on Raw, it was because of my politics. Motherfucker, Undertaker got the same politics. And notice how he's trashing you too.
Oh, Hulk Hogan. Did you see where he was in an interview or something and he called Shelton Benjamin Shelton? And Shelton ripped him.
Oh, that was dirty, dude. It was amazing.
Shelton ripped him. Shelton ripped him, dude.
Just
Shelton rejected him.
Just
but anyway, dog.
Optics alone. If you've been accused of as many racist things as Hulk Hogan's been accused of and done that we know he's done because we've heard tapes, you can't mess up a black man's name. You can't do that. Like, it doesn't help your case when you're like, I'm not really that guy. And you fuck it up right after.
I mean, man, dude, it's just one thing after another, brother. It's just.
Oh, dude, it was amazing. It was just amazing.
Like, I didn't see the interview with him where he said it first. Shelton's, you know,
Mine was the same way.
Yeah. Because, you know, we follow each other. So, like, his shit came up on my feed and I went, what has Hogan done now? You know, I just, I saw that tweet of Shelton ripping him, and I went, what has Hulk Hogan done now, brother? What did you do, brother?
The funny thing
that's
is,
when I found the
is
clip.
if Hogan was around now, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be one thing. It's like, oh, he's trending. It's like he's, mega popular wrestler and all this other stuff. I just love that now in the 2020s, you see a tweet about Hogan. It's all, what the fuck did this guy do now? It's just let me see more of the crash out that is Hulk Hogan.
I mean, it's sad that it's gotten to that point. Now it's just like, oh, what is it? What did he do this time? What did he say this time? It's just, man, it's just
especially when it's
crazy,
Shelton
bro.
Benjamin, because you're just like, what racist thing did Hulk Hogan say this time?
And I almost wanted to believe maybe he didn't do anything. Maybe somebody just asked Shelton about him and he was just real with them. You know, maybe something. But I was reading that tweet and Shelton sounded pretty angry. Like it didn't sound like an interview answer or something like that. Or, you know, it wasn't like, well, I said what I said. Or, it really wasn't that kind of thing either. Shelton seemed angry. So I was like, what has he done now?
What did he say to him? Like after he got the name wrong.
Okay. Specifically, Shelton Benjamin back said, you lost me forever with your don't get caught, or as you would call it, apology speech. So rather than screw up my name and pretend we ever had any sort of camaraderie, which we never had, please do me a favor. And then he puts a clip of the Will Smith saying, keep my name out of your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
That's rough.
And then the Iron Sheik also responded with, fuck the Hulk Hogan.
You could always hear it in Iron Sheik's voice.
Jastin, could you ever imagine?
Fucking the Hulk Hogan, you know.
Justin, could you ever imagine as a child you would ever be cheering the Iron Sheik over Hulk Hogan?
I know. That was so against how it used to be. My, how things can change.
Oh, I'm sorry. That tweet from the Iron Sheik was from 2021. MVP, is the one that reminded everybody by saying the Iron Sheik was right about Hulk Hogan, which was fuck the Hulk Hogan. Oh, man. I just would really wish we could make a time machine right now, just because I want adult Jastin to go back in time to tell child Jastin the Iron Sheik is right.
Man.
Oh.
Wow.
Crazy times.
Mm-hmm.
There is some MCU news too, but I think, we might as well tag it in with the movie because we are doing MCU movie. Also, Sinners just keeps making money. Whew. Sinners just keeps making money. Just money. It's
great.
It's now in the top 30 horror films, highest grossing horror films of all time.
Awesome.
It has passed other historically big and great vampire movies with Interview with a Vampire and Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's passed both of them in box office.
Wow.
I think it almost puts it in the realm of highest grossing R vampire movie. You can't, it sucks. You can't say highest grossing vampire movie because technically the Twilight movies will take that. But
I am loving that, like, at this point, it's people that are, like, just seeing it again in theaters. Lots of people are like, oh, yeah, I've seen it, like, 4 times in theaters already.
But yeah, it was in the 250s last I saw, 250 million. Which, man, you guys remember when it was so far away from 90? I'm sorry. It is officially at 247 million worldwide. Oh no. Just demolishing. Fantastic. I really wish I could look up just vampire movies. I can't. I'll find it later. Yeah, it's now up there like in historically high numbers for horror movies even. So, way to go. You guys got any other news you want to talk about?
Nope, not for me.
You guys watch any movies? Anything?
Honestly, mine was just the one we just talked about, the Hollywood Demons. Yeah. That was the only like extra thing I watched this week, but I figured all of us probably watched that, so we would just talk about that.
No, nothing that I can think of.
I mean, there was also the one about, what was it, the Real Housewives? That one was interesting too.
It was. I have not seen that one. So
and the Hollywood Stalkers one? Oh,
actually, yeah, the Stalkers one is actually better.
It's gross.
Really?
It's gross.
It's gross, but it's very interesting to hear.
I was like, oh my gosh, I bet there's some crazy stuff in that.
Dude, and the sad thing is like you watch that and you hear the things and you hear the way that police have to respond to it, sometimes depending on local and state and federal laws and all this other stuff, and how depending on where you live, you might be protected from a stalker and you might not be, and all those things. Like it just, it's gross, dude. It makes you feel just dirty.
It's crazy, but it's like, it's interesting. Like just the episode is very interesting and very good, but yeah, it's gross. Like it's crazy.
And I remember not too terribly long ago, like 7 years or so ago, like my ex-wife went through something like this. This guy was stalking her. This guy was stalking like 20 different women though. But like he would kind of rotate to who he was like obsessed with at that time. You know what I mean? Went to jail for some unrelated shit, but like my ex-wife had to go get a restraining order out against him. I was on the restraining order because we were technically still married at the time. So it's like, you can't also come fuck with her husband. But even getting the restraining order was crazy. You have to give the person that's stalking you your address because they might not have it. You know what I mean? They might try to find it. They might know a general area, but they might not know anything specific. But like, yeah, you have to give them your address for sure.
That's a crazy idea.
And it's one of those things that sucks because like I see both sides of it because like you have to give them your address because technically you have to tell them where the fuck they have to stay away from. But then also, if they did not specifically have your address, say they only knew where you worked, and that's where they were stalking you, they now know where you live.
Yeah. It's like a double-edged sword kind of thing. Like it, and that was something too that they talked about in that episode with like some of the people that actually did go to court where they like face this person and they're like, it sucks because they're getting what they want. They're getting to like see me and have this get to know these details about my life because I have to share things in the court and they're getting what they want. And, I'm having to like just deal with that. And I have to face this terrifying thing for me, but for them, it's exactly what they want. So yeah, it's like that double-edged sword of like, I get why you have to go to court and you have to do the things, but also, yeah, like they're getting what they want. Like, it's crazy.
I never thought of it that way, but that makes a lot of sense. And that is crazy to think about.
Yeah, even restraining orders. Like, because if you go based on movies and television shows, they give out restraining orders like it's fucking Skittles. No. Like, whenever my ex-wife went to go get one, they were like, no, we have to set a trial date for it so that the stalker can show up too, because we want to hear his side of the story. Like, we want to make sure that he's actually stalking you and a threat.
Yeah, the idea of like, yeah, that was a crazy and really frustrating thing that they talked about too, of like, they have to prove that like they were threatening, that they were doing something intentionally threatening or whatever. And it's like, it doesn't matter if it was intentional or not. If the other person feels threatened, like, why isn't that enough? And then you hear judges and officials that are kind of like laughing at people because they're like, this is something that I do on I don't remember what it was that he said, but it was just very dismissive of what somebody who was stalked went through.
Yeah. And then even with everything too, she got the restraining orders for 2 years, but he went to jail for something still unrelated. Went to jail, got out of jail, was on probation, ankle monitor, all that shit, right? Posted on Instagram a video of him cutting off his ankle bracelet, saying they're not going to fucking find me now, and then messaging my ex-wife being like, I'm coming there. And she calls the cops. It's like, hey, this person on probation, look, video, cutting off ankle monitor and throwing it into a yard, and messages saying they're coming here. And the Joliet Police Department was like, oh, we can't do anything unless he actually comes here and you actually tell him that he's trespassing. It's not just enough that he's violating probation. That's not enough. We can't do anything with that.
Wow.
That's not enough crime. It's insane. You know what it really was? The police department not wanting to do shit. That's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, the guy ended up getting arrested that night in Joliet. Fortunately, not near where we lived at the time, but did get arrested in Joliet for running around drunk and shit and doing things. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So watch the stalking episode. It makes you feel gross. And just especially in the way of fuck, our laws suck. God forbid we protect victims. It's insanity. And I'm sorry, if you're stalking somebody, you're not a victim. Real quick and easy, not a victim. Anyway, you know what is a victim? Thunderbolts. I shouldn't have said it like that. That makes it sound like I either hate it or feel bad for it. I don't pity Thunderbolts. Anyway, Thunderbolts with a Z.
Somebody listen to me.
Nobody knows anything but you.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm joined by Heather and Jastin. And tonight we're going to talk about what we like, didn't like, and everything in between with the newest MCU project, Thunderbolts ***. We will go spoiler-free recommendations and scores, and then into a more spoiler-centric section with time codes in the description to allow you to jump around if you so require, in both audio and video formats. I forgot to say that. With all that, I mean, I guess we have to go with our resident villain-turned-hero expert, Heather. What are your spoiler-free thoughts about this here Thunderbolts?
I feel like I should unpack what that means, but it's fine.
Heather, how long have we been doing this podcast? You know you're the resident villain.
Yeah, I'm in denial. That's all. I gotcha. Yeah, so I liked this movie a whole lot more than I expected to. They made this into a really good story about mental health. Low key, like at points, it felt like Inside Out 2 was superheroes to me, which is maybe why I enjoyed it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. It got me emotional at some points, and it just wasn't the story that I expected from this movie. But yeah, like the character dynamics were fun and well done, which is typical for the most part in, Marvel movies and everything. Florence is just constantly a treat to watch. Like, I loved that this was it was very centered on her character for a lot of it. She has a lot of growth in this. She just really shines, as always. I was pitched by, I don't remember if it was something I saw on like TikTok or something, but I was pitched this movie as being more Bucky centric, and it was not, which is fine. But like the part that he does play in it is really great. And it's just nice to see more of him. Like we haven't in a while, minus Brave New World cameo for like 2 minutes, but it's always nice to see him because he is a good character, Lewis Pullman like actually kills it in this. Like he was a standout to me here. Like there was just something about subtleties to his performance that made him feel very relatable and like a real person. And I just loved his character. And he just really kind of resonated with me in some ways. I loved seeing like his struggle between the truth and what he feels, and like seeing him become like this persona that he is in this. I honestly didn't know what to expect from his character because I knew nothing about him or who he plays before this. So maybe that adds to like why I liked this as much as I did. If I remember right, the only thing I really knew is like he took the part that it was going to be Steven Yeun that was playing this part, right? So that's really the only thing I knew about this beforehand. But yeah, everyone had great chemistry with each other. John Walker was a character that I feel like, I guess in a way, most confused me with who he was in this. But then you kind of learn a little bit more about him and it makes more sense. But I still think they maybe could have done his character a little bit better in this one. But I don't know, it just felt different than who I expected his character to be. It works, but it's just different. And I don't know, like there's some events that happened that I think were done really creatively and effectively, and some things that could have maybe been better explained. Granted, me going into this not having knowledge of some of the things, but that being said, it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of this, and I just really appreciated this movie. Like it just was not on my bingo card to be like Thunderbolts is so good. Not that I thought it was going to be bad necessarily, but again, it's a mixed bag these days with Marvel and what you're going to get, unfortunately. But I don't know. I just feel like it's very timely, I guess I could say, for MCU movies to like change it up, especially given like the amount of times that we have talked about that fatigue of superhero movies, this one is different in a good way. Like they take a different approach and they make mental health more like a forefront here. Some people maybe think it needed to be more action and Marvel specific flair, but I think this is what it needed. And like, at least for me, it's what I needed it to be because it made me less hesitant to be excited for some of these movies. Cause I typically going into these movies now, I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to be excited or if I am excited, if I should be, But yeah, so this is just a slight change of pace, but it still is like the action and the characters that we love. So, yeah, but I care more about those like moral messages and the character growth at this point with these Marvel characters. So I just enjoyed that a lot for what it was in this movie. Yeah, I think, yeah, aside from that, like I said, there's still some good action moments. There's still some good humor, really good team ups that I enjoyed. It's, in some ways it is kind of your run of the mill, like Marvel shenanigans, but just kind of repackaged a little bit different to where they made it a little bit more fresh. So, yeah.
Jastin, what about you?
Cool. So, going into this movie, like, I mean, I wouldn't say that I was necessarily excited for it. You know, it was just more like, oh, it almost just feels at this point like you're so far into this story and you've watched so many of these. Sometimes it almost feels more like an obligation than it is an excitement. Like, oh man, well, let's see what my Marvel people are doing. You know, it kind of almost feels like that sometimes, like that kind of excitement of like, oh man, I can't wait to see what they do with the next one, hadn't really been there for me. And, you know, coming off of Brave New World, which we all thought was just kind of a mediocre movie, and some of the other disappointing movies, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and, you know, there's just been quite a few Marvel movies. And there are some that we thought were good, like Guardians 3 and stuff, but particularly in this phase, you hadn't really seen anything that you felt like had that magic that we used to enjoy so much. Whatever it was, whether it was the old Avenger movies, whether it was some of those older Iron Mans or the Thors, or like, you know, some of the older stuff, you had felt like in these recent projects, it was lacking some of that magic, just some of that. There was like an intangible kind of quality to some of the older Marvel stuff and there was a time where they would do these team up movies and it really did feel like an event. It felt like something big. It felt like something cool, but at the same time, they all kind of had this magic about them. And you felt something when you watched them. And it had been a while since I had felt like that. And this movie, while I don't think it does everything perfectly, there were a few like gripes I had about it. But this really felt like turning a corner. This really felt like something, this feels bigger than what it is. Like, as far as the scale and the characters that we have involved and stuff like this, there was definitely something about this. This feels like I said, a turning of the corner, a step in the right direction, a possible return to form. This made me feel good, maybe about what is to come. Like this felt like this reminded me of some of the things I used to like about some of the older Marvel movies. And surprisingly, it wasn't the action scenes. It wasn't these big comic booky moments. It wasn't whether or not they got every character right as it relates to the comics, but the focus on characters and character dynamics and character development is really why this film wins. And I said it years ago, I'll say it again. And you can go back through the episodes, and this is the best thing I've said, and it has aged so well when it comes to Marvel. If they focus on the characters and making you care about the characters and the development of the characters, and they focus less on all the comic booky shit, the movies will win more than they lose. That is I said that, I made up that rule, and it felt like in this, we are following that rule. We were about the characters in this. We were about development in this. And I think that's ultimately why this movie wins. And you already said it, Heather, it's Marvel's mental health movie. And I think especially at this time, especially what a lot of people are going through and sort of the overall feeling of just what the world is at this time, a lot of people are connecting with this movie. A lot of people are connecting with the themes about depression and anxiety and the feeling of aloneness and stuff like that. So this movie is striking a chord in that way. And I felt like most of the decisions they made in this were the right ones. It wasn't taken lightly in this. It wasn't just kind of like, hey, we kind of have the theme, but really we're going to do some ha-ha funny shit. Never felt like that. It felt like the themes were intricate to this. It was intricate in the characters. It was intricate in the things that they had in common, even though they were all monumentally different. This movie is shot with a darkened cinematography and color that really adds to the themes and what it was about and everything like that. And even the villain, and you might want to put an asterisk next to that, even the villain in this, the quotations, is marred in this theme of the light and the dark part of yourself versus the good part of yourself, and the good and the bad and the back and forth with that. And sort of that battle that I think everybody faces in some sort of way, the good and the bad of you and the juggling of that. I love that all of that was in here and it was taken seriously, and it really is kind of the heart of this film. Florence Pugh and this character, Yelena, like, ever since Yelena debuted in Black Widow, I liked Yelena. I really liked Yelena in the Hawkeye series.
She was unfair in that.
I love Yelena in this movie. I mean, holy fuck. She has got to be one of the best characters in the MCU. She is. I mean, I can't say it any other way. She is one of the best characters now in the MCU.
With that, who's a better Black Widow?
Man, Nat, I love you. ScarJo, I love you. But this is a better written character. This is just a better written character. This character has been handled with more care, and now some of this is going to be unfair because I feel like, especially ScarJo and Natasha, she had to do a lot to get that character over, because at first, the way the character was presented, especially next to Tony Stark, there was a lot of objectification and sexualizing and stuff like that. And I feel like ScarJo had to overcome that at first. And then she was definitely treated a lot better in the Winter Soldier film. And then I guess subsequent films after that, she was treated a little bit better. And ultimately, she made a sacrifice and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's a good character too. I don't want to knee-jerk it and just say, oh, everything is better about this. But I can at least admit that this is a better written character, just from start to finish. And especially this movie, like if I'm comparing her solo film, which is this, right? Thunderbolts, and then Black Widow. Well, there's no comparison. This is a much better movie.
Well, and by
Black
that,
Widow.
I'm not even necessarily trying to compare Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh. I'm just talking about straight up the characters, the Natasha and the Yelena Black Widow. The Yelena Black Widow, like you said, Jess, is infinitely more fleshed out from the beginning, which is dirty, because why? You get introduced to Yelena in the film that should have happened 5 years before it did. There was the send-off
Yeah.
for Black Widow, but also kind of the nail in the coffin, even though, yes, she died in Endgame. But like it was the nail in the coffin as far as kind of the dirty treatment of Natasha. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
there was zero reason for that movie to come out that late. Zero.
Yeah.
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 And to that too, there's that point. I'm sorry, Jastin, just to say, like, we get introduced to Yelena at such an interesting like time in her life. You know what I mean? And I think that might be part of why like the way she's fleshed out feels so different than Natasha, because it's like she's essentially coming in at the start of like grieving a sister and then having to grieve a sister again. Like it's just very much the place that we meet her at is very much like it starts off really, really rough. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's just that might be part of why she's so fleshed out in such a much better way.
Yeah. And her story started the way Natasha's story should have started. Like Natasha kind of got introduced as a side character in this other series, but what was going on was unrelated to, it's a part of Natasha's story, but it wasn't like we were discovering what happened to Natasha, where she came from, what the child it is. We had Natasha for years. And then finally we got this Black Widow movie where we're finding out, okay, this is how they were treated. The brainwashing, the parents, but not parents, the relationship with her sister and all of this kind of stuff. You know, that's after years of seeing Natasha do all of this shit. Yelena's better written because she started the right way. We know what we started with, what her upbringing was, her relationship to her sister, the Red Room, all of that stuff. We're seeing it. We're not being told it like we were with Natasha. So it's back to my golden rule. Show, don't tell me. We were told a lot of Natasha's story before we saw it. We got to see Yelena's whole story damn near. And
also,
it makes a difference, man.
And also the Natasha introduction into the MCU was, look how hot she is.
Yeah.
Versus,
True.
you know, oh, look how good of an assassin she is. Or like, look at like this character. It's, she's hot.
I
And
mean, honestly, Nat walked so Yelena could run is basically what it is.
Yeah. It's really hard to just separate and say, and now this makes the Black Widow movie more significant because we have one of the best characters, because we got one of the best characters in the MCU because of that movie, you know? So if this was Nat walking, well, Yelena's running now, and I love this character.
but also
Like,
the same movie that gave us Yelena also gave us at least a very much jogging David Harbour.
yeah, him too. And he's great too. The Red Guardian's awesome. The Taskmaster is, well, we'll stop there.
It's not a spoiler, dude. Look at anything for this movie. It ain't a spoiler.
I mean, I don't have to talk specifically. I was joking because y'all know, but of course we're going to have to talk about that. I'm half and half with that, and I'll explain why. But yeah, Yelena now, though, to me, is not only just one of the best written characters, but shoot, let me toot the horn of Florence Pugh. This might be one of the best acting performances of one of these characters that we've gotten in the MCU. And maybe it feels like a knee jerk for me to say that because there have been a lot of good performances of these characters. But man, dude, her performance in this, man, there are scenes where she got me to feel things that these other acting performances just didn't. Now I understand it's different characters, it's a different mood, it's a different tone. I have dealt with depression myself, so maybe on some level I connected more with this story and its themes and what it was trying to say. So some of it could be that too. But this performance is so layered, it's so well written, and she does such a great job on both sides of it. she's funny because of her dry humor, but it's in an organic way. She's not quippy like Tony Stark. This is not Tony Stark quippiness or like awkwardness of Tom Holland's Peter Parker or Thor with his sort of way that he does funny Taika Waititi shit. It's not that kind of funny.
Or even the
It's
earnest
different.
naivety that was Captain America.
Yeah, it's not that. It's different. But it's organic. It feels, or at least it feels more organic. And it's different, but there's just something about her I really like. There's just something about the sharp tongue that she has. And like I said, the dryness at which she delivers something or says something. And she's funny in those scenes because of that. Her interactions with some of these characters are great and super entertaining throughout. This gave me a lot of feelings, and a lot of this is on purpose, of the first Avenger movie, where you have these characters kind of coming together that are different. Some of them don't really know each other. And the way the story is told to bring them together is nice. I didn't really expect this. Like when you're seeing Valentina talk to all these characters throughout the MCU movies, and she's kind of gaining favor with these characters and sort of recruiting these characters, I was under the impression that this film was going to start a different way. I thought we were going to already be a team and already know each other and already going to be doing shit together. They didn't go that route, and I'm happy that they didn't. They could have easily done that, but they chose, I think, they took a different option, and I'm glad that they chose that option. It made this less predictable in how everybody was coming together and how we were coming together. I thought we were already a team by this point. I thought we were going to find out we had missed all this extra shit and these people are already working together. And that was not what I got at all. So that was a pleasant surprise. Just how everything began and how everything played out. I really want to get to spoilers, so I'll just kind of talk. And then this does some things in the third act that were different from any Marvel movie we've seen thus far. It made some different choices. It did some different things. This wasn't a sky beam. This wasn't a big super CGI fight with somebody that looks like you. This wasn't any of those things. We are finally making some different choices and honoring the theme that we have set up here and talking about that. And I really, really liked that. So I think the choices to make the choice to make some different choices made this feel more fresh. It made this feel I was more welcoming to what I got in the third act because of that. Now, that said, there are some things that I do feel I wanted more of. I think they maybe could have done even more with some of this stuff, with some of the stuff that they did. But I liked what they did overall. And I didn't say anything about him, but Lewis Pullman was great in this too, Heather. And I agree too. He's definitely one of the standout performers in this. And somebody that I, much like his placement in the movie, he was out of nowhere for me and winds up being the heart and soul of this movie in a way that I just couldn't have imagined. So another great character. So not only, and John Walker, he's great too. Wyatt Russell is great in this too. So not only have we, I think, took this movie and made all of the characters involved in it more interesting, and most of the characters more interesting and better, and we developed them more and got them to a better place. we've created even more characters that are also intriguing and are also going to be fun. And then when this movie gets at the end and we get a post-credit scene, instead of the post-credit scene being something random or something dumb or something where it's like some mystic person saying, hey, there's going to be more shit. They just took a more straightforward approach and said, okay, look, this is going to lead into this. And it's not stupid or weird. You know, it was kind of funny, but we have clearly defined kind of where we're going next. And I like that. It got me excited for what's to come. And I haven't felt like that in a while.
There's a story behind that too, and I'll get to that in spoilers when we discuss it.
Cool. Can't wait to hear it. So yeah, I'll just end it by saying the hype and the things I was hearing about that people were talking about with this, like, this is one of the best Marvel movies in years. It's the best movie of this phase. It's like, it's one of the better movies and all of that stuff. I agree. I think I'm in agreement with that. I think if somebody were to ask me, is it really as good as they say, I will be able to say, yes, I think for the most part, I can agree with that.
Oh, I just looked at what actually qualifies as Marvel Phase 5. Because this is it. This is actually, so just so we're putting it everybody out there, this is the final movie of Phase 5.
Okay, which was what? Do you have the list there?
So the Phase 5 is Ant-Man, Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's not better than that. The Marvels, I'll get into that. Deadpool and Wolverine, Captain America, Brave New World. Technically, Ironheart, the TV show that comes out later this year, or actually next month, I think, is technically the final conclusion of Phase 5, but not necessarily as far as movies go. Yeah, that is Phase 5 of this. Yeah, so was it Fantastic Four starts us off, Phase 6, later this summer. Oh, it's very weird. We had one Marvel movie all of last year. We're getting 3 this year right away. Anyway. Yeah, so Thunderbolts. For the most part, it's pretty good. I actually think I was more down on it coming out of it. I think coming out of the movie, I was more down on it. I think since then I've softened a little bit more on it. Coming out of it, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of thought I was just like, you know what, this is it felt like standard Marvel fare to a degree, but better than what we've gotten in a long time. I think it is like you said, Jastin, and I think you said too, it's like a step in the right direction, at least. You know, I didn't love it, but I was like, at least it's a step in the right direction. I haven't necessarily felt like that in a very long time when it comes to MCU, it being a step in the right direction. You know, I thought, but I think like it does grow on you, I think, even without watching it again. I like you said, Jastin, I think having a villain that is nothing like you, a villain, quote unquote, that is nothing like you, that, you know, isn't you, but in a different costume, feels good. No sky beams. Amazing. You know, the things you take for granted.
Yeah.
You know, and like you were talking about, Heather, that it has a villain, but does it? It doesn't really have a villain, like as you would in a typical superhero movie. The villain is more of an abstract concept of a villain and stuff like that. And so those types of things, once you give them, at least for me, once I gave them a little bit more time to kind of sink in, make you go, oh yeah, that is better. That's different. You know, it's not just a step in the right direction. It's like a full-on move in the right direction. You know, it's not a step. It's a full shift towards the right direction, which it's the fucking Thunderbolts. Why the fuck are you doing that in this movie? Why the fuck were we getting that in Captain America? Why the fuck were we getting that in all these other movies? Why the fuck do you wait for the Thunderbolts to go, you know what? Maybe we remember what we can do. Like, you know, you, Jastin, you've got your rule for the MCU and I've got mine, which is make a genre film and just have it have superheroes as the characters. This movie doesn't quite do that, but it kind of does. There's elements of this that they kind of steal from some other genres, and they just happen to be superheroes. You know, and that kind of works better. And, you know, in those instances and stuff like that, it works. Because this is the ragtag team of misfits. We've all seen a version of that. You know, this is essentially almost a la Mission Impossible 1. You know, team of spies that are, you know, more or less being executed by their own government type of thing. And they realize it and they have to band together, you know, those types of things. You know, it steals elements from those types of things. And like I said, just happens to have superheroes. Those tend to be, for me, to be the better Marvel movies. It's like, what were our favorite parts about the Marvels? You know, just them doing buddy shit. Like it being a road trip comedy that happened to have, you know, interstellar superheroes in it. Those were our favorite bits. When they got bogged down in the superhero-ness of it, it sucks. But when you just let it be that movie, it works. And this kind of has the same thing. You know, this is just a action-packed Breakfast Club. You know, and in those elements, that's why this movie succeeds in those regards. Because it's, you know, it's Breakfast Club with guns. And a guy in a cape. And a death at the beginning. But you know, and that's why it kind of works. Like you guys were saying, Yelena's written great. That's why I brought up the Red Guardian too. I think this movie's their movie. This is the Red Guardian and Yelena sequel to Black Widow, featuring some other people. You know, just got some other people in it. Also, I am so glad Ghost is back. The best thing to come out of any of the Ant-Man movies was Ghost. And we haven't seen her since fucking Ant-Man 2. And she's fucking fantastic. Like,
yeah, she was low-key good in this, man. Like, she didn't get the most lines or anything, but she is hella good in this. I did like her.
I love the way they do her powers. I loved her story. She's just trapped. It's, you know what I mean? Like, she is legitimately grown up being trapped, stuck in between multiple dimensions, needs this suit to kind of ground her to this, all this. Like, I was like, it's fantastic. It's a great story. And then for years, they've just gone, Ghost who? It's like, Kevin Feige, you remember Ghost from Ant-Man 2? And they're like, no, that character never existed. And then it's like
Ghost.
Yeah. And then it's like, now that they were like, oh fuck yeah, Ghost. Yeah, that's right. Go there, put him in the movie. So it was really good to see her in this. That made me really happy. You got your John Walker, which thank God Wyatt Russell has a little bit of facial hair, because when he's all capped up, if he doesn't have facial hair, he looks like a younger version of the old man from Up in a Captain America suit. And you just give him a little bit of stubble, it takes the Pixar right out of him real quick. He looks like an actual person if you just give him a little bit of facial hair. So I'm so glad they did that. You know, by law, Taskmaster is in this movie. I guess. Sure. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, great. Fantastic. Loved her in this. Lewis Pullman was great. It was a very interesting take on the century. Not even wildly inaccurate or anything like that. Just it was an interesting take. Took a lot of elements of the character of Century and kind of, changed them to fit in this, but did not drastic changes. You know what I mean? Just, molded it to fit into this. And that worked. Am I forgetting anybody else? Oh, Bucky. Yeah, Bucky. I was like, I know I'm missing somebody from this team. We could have just used some more Bucky, I think. It's Bucky. It's Sebastian Stan. This man has been around since the first Captain America, but he's been this Bucky since, Winter Soldier. You're never going to go wrong if you just have some Bucky. Just buck up a little bit. It's fine. Nobody's going to go,
great though, man. He's freaking great, dude.
Yeah, but Jastin, you have to admit, we need a little more of him. Just a little more.
Well, I thought he was in it a good amount, but I get it.
I'm talking about prominence.
Look at how Sebastian Stan looks. Of course, you wanted more of him, Sterling. I know why.
He's bald
I know
now,
why
too.
You wanted more of it. I see how he looks, and it's like, dang. Well, I get it, man. I see why you want more of him, but he was in it a pretty good amount, man.
And he's bald. No, he did. He shaved his head for a role or something like that. But anyway. But still, just a little bit. Come on, you couldn't give me 4 more minutes of Bucky? Just more pure Buck. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted more Buck in Red Guardian. Because I really kind of dug the Red Guardian just geeking out to Bucky. That you know what I mean? He's like, oh fuck, man. That's the Winter Soldier, man. Ooh. I know I'm on my own dick, but also that's the Winter Soldier, though.
Bucky also, I think, had one of the funniest lines in the movie.
Are you going to leave us just waiting?
Well, I was going to wait till we got to,
just
at the end when they're kind of all together and going through the nightmare realm, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've had a very, wonderful past, so I'm good," or something like that. It was just very funny.
But yeah, it's just, there's just could have had some more. But anyway, yeah, I guess I'll end it there. Recommendations and scores?
Yep.
Yeah.
Recommendations and score.
Jastin, what you got?
All right, I was long on that part, so I'll try to be short here. Yeah, it's a recommend. It's a big recommend. If you're a fan of the MCU movies and stuff like that, there's no reason to not see this one. I mean, you've probably seen it already at this point, but if you haven't, if you're a little hesitant because you felt like the last few movies have been subpar, well, we're all kind of saying the same thing, man. This was a move in the right direction. This was back to some of that Marvel magic that we're familiar with and why we became fans in the first place. It's got compelling characters. It's got a great topical, meaningful, very human theme that is important, and it's there throughout the movie. And it does what it needs to do at the end to get you excited for what's to come. So I don't know what else a Marvel movie needs to do. And I think that this is going to wind up being a very meaningful movie because the whole reason when the MCU started, it was about these sort of B-level characters coming together and them having to not necessarily use the characters they wanted because of contracts and names and properties and stuff like that. So they kind of have to come up with these B level characters and make something out of it. And unexpectedly and almost ironically so, here is a movie with these B characters. These are these B level characters that we're not the biggest fans of. Most of the time, fans are complaining, where's my Iron Man? Where's my Cap? Why do I miss him? Where's my Thor? But ironically, it is these B-level characters that are in a team-up movie, kind of like this, unexpectedly coming together, and they're broken and flawed, and they're maybe not the characters we expected to be here. But somehow they are here, and they may be turning this thing around, man. They may be some of the most compelling characters we have seen in the MCU. So I feel like this is the beginning of something, man. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not but this feels like this is going to wind up being something super meaningful. The movie's good and everything. It's a really good movie. But this feels like the start of something that may be positive. So I just want people, especially the Marvel fans, to be a part of that. So with that being said, we'll go. I really liked it. I'll give it an A. We'll go 90. Just right at, I think I could justify that. I can take 10 points off of the stuff I didn't like. So we'll go A. We'll go 90. I don't know, 90 taco shields out of 100.
Real quick before you go, Heather, I just want to comment on what you just said with that, Jastin. It feels like so long since, the MCU started and how much it's changed the landscape of Marvel in general. Because if you've been like a comic book reader or a Marvel person for so long, you're the only people that are really going to remember that when the MCU started, these were B-list characters.
Yeah.
Iron Man, yeah, it had been around for a while, but he was a B-lister. Captain America, been around for decades. B-lister. Thor, B-lister. The only prominent A-list superhero they really had in the original part of the MCU was the Hulk. And that's it. Everyone else was a bunch of B-listers. I mean, Hawkeye and Black Widow, you can even argue were maybe C.
Yeah, those are probably C's.
These were nobodies. Marvel was Spider-Man. Marvel was X-Men. And to a lesser degree, Marvel was Punisher and Daredevil. Like, a lot of people don't realize Daredevil was more prominent than fucking Iron Man for a long time. There's a reason why we got a Daredevil movie before we got an Iron Man movie. I mean, the Fantastic Four, to a degree, they were about as high of a B-lister as you could get in Marvel at the time. They weren't really doing much with them in the comics all the time and stuff like that, but people kind of still knew them more than some of these other people. Yeah, people knew who Iron Man was. People knew who Captain America was. But nobody really knew shit. You could tell people Iron Man was actually just a full-on robot, and people would have believed you. So you're kind of hitting the nail on the head with it, Jastin, when you're talking about this recapturing some of that magic, because as far as the MCU is concerned, this was the B team. This wasn't the replacement team, because that's still your Shang-Chi's, all these other people that they've been trying to introduce. These were just the B-level people that they've kind of brought together which at its heart, what's more MCU than that, technically? I mean, fuck, what are the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah.
Those were
they
those were C-listers that are now A-listers.
Yeah.
They were no
And
ones.
there's just a magic with them with being able to do that, man. And this felt like the old magic. It did in a lot of ways.
They still haven't been able to improve that F tier though, because we all saw the Eternals.
Well,
Heather, though, what you got?
Yeah, that is a good point. Like, that's something I could give credit to them for, is like, because I honestly didn't know any of these characters before, so I wouldn't have known that. But like the way that they make you care about these characters in these movies, and you know what I mean? Like, honestly, the actors they get to play them, just the personalities they bring, it's like they just know how to perfectly cast Marvel. It's crazy. But yeah, with this movie, I do recommend it for sure. I think it's really, really good. I'm not even going to necessarily say like it's not even necessarily like my favorite Marvel movie or anything like that. But I could definitely say that it will be up there as one of the most memorable ones personally for me, just because of how they change up what they're doing, and just because of the whole idea that mental health is such a huge character in this movie in a way. Like, it's one of the more relatable Marvel movies, I would say. And that's why it's one of the more memorable ones for me. Yeah, great action, excellent characters and dynamics. I loved seeing the team ups and them working together, and just the least likely people coming together to like really make a difference is always a fun thing. So yeah, I think it was great in a lot of ways, and not a perfect movie, but definitely really good, and a pleasant surprise from Marvel for me. So I'm going to go 84 avoiding sneezes by saying cucumber out of 100.
Yeah, I'll recommend it. Earlier I mentioned I don't know if it's the best one in the phase. I still think that's still Guardians 3. Yeah, but also it has the benefit of being the finale. You know what I mean? It's not the introduction movie, it's the finale movie, and those are always harder to beat when they're good. You know what I mean? When you get that good finale movie, it's real hard, because it's just you're paying off the time, the investment, and the other movie, you know. So it's nothing against Thunderbolts when I say it's not better than Guardians. Now, controversial take here. While technically maybe being a better movie, I kind of like the Marvels a little more still. I think when the Marvels hits, I like those characters better. Especially when it comes to Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel. I think those are fantastic. And then you get Photon in there. I think it's really, really good. But that's like a personality thing. Whereas when you have to look at the whole movie as a whole, though, I mean, God, how do you have the weakest villain in the MCU? In the MCU. Do you guys remember, like, just how lukewarm fucking Whiplash was? Do you guys remember how ice cold Malik the Dark Elf was in Thor Dark World or whatever the fuck that one was called? Do you remember how monumentally butchered Gore the God Butcher was? Do you remember MODOK in Quantumania? Oh, that's fantastic, wasn't it? What the fuck were they doing in the Marvels? Just, hey, other Ronan the Accuser. Okay. That's so bad. It's so bad. And everything else was so good. It just makes me angry. It really does. Anyway, I might like the Marvels more because of those aspects, not the villain, obviously. But I will have to say that the Thunderbolts is a better movie, though. It is all around. It is a better movie. I feel like this is so high for me in a Marvel movie, especially a recent Marvel movie. But really, I'm really surprised, Heather. I really thought you were going higher than 84. I'm giving it an 85. It's monumentally high for me, people.
I was not expecting to be the lowest score on this one at all.
That's why I was so surprised when you're all 84. I was like, how the fuck am I not last? I legitimately thought my 85, which is a very good score, was going to by far be the lowest.
I just said 84 and it felt right. I could have gone 85 and been totally fine with it, though.
I was expecting lowest 88 from you, Heather. But anyway, yeah, I'll give it a 85. Little girls getting dark voided out of 100. I'm not gonna. I chuckled at that scene. I chuckled when that little girl just dis-a-fuck-appeared.
It's so
They
abrupt.
got me with that one. I gasped. Like, me and half the theater gasped. Like, no, like, that was crazy, bro. The timing of that was crazy, bro.
Yeah, but also the thing that sucks about that scene is it lets you know it's all getting undone. You know what I mean? I'm like, Marvel's taking a risk by just showing that, but also they're not taking that much of a risk. This little girl ain't gone forever. CineScore on this is an 86. Spoilers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Spoilers.
All right, elephant in the room. Did anybody else feel like they kind of did Taskmaster a little dirty?
I was like, damn, bro.
Yeah, it was a little
At
surprising.
first, I went through a stage of denial where I was like, she's not dead, is she? Like something. It's like
She got
Then-
full on
then you
headshotted by
saw the
ghosts.
shot with the hole in her head and the blood coming out, and I went, "Oh, she's dead."
Yeah. Like, I knew she was going to die in this movie. Because, like, you remember when they first started promoting this movie and you got to see, like, Taskmaster and stuff. And then they started doing posters and standees and other commercials without a Taskmaster to be seen. I'm like, oh, she's dead. She's just dead. I didn't think she was dying that early that way. I kind of figured it was like what you were saying, Jastin, like they was already a team and she just dies on a mission or something. Or the first time they run into the Sentry, he just does like he does to Carnage and rips her in half, throws her into the sun. Yes, the Sentry does that to Carnage in the comics. But yeah, no, she just goes just one shot. I was like, damn. But I'm not gonna lie, that was probably one of the most interesting and best ways to kind of have them team up together. Have them go to all kill each other. And then realize they're all there to kill each other. That was a really interesting way of doing that. And I kind of like that.
And who had that on their bingo card? Like, you would have just assumed with all the recruiting that Valentina was doing that they were just going to be a team already. You just, you saw all their recruiting, but it's kind of neat to think about that and think that, oh, well, yeah, she was recruiting them, but she had them all doing different shit for her own selfish, power-hungry means.
And they didn't even see each other in the office.
A lot of them hadn't even met each other.
Yeah. They didn't even see each other in the break room.
Yeah. She just had them all under her wing doing independent shit. Like, she was never really trying to assemble a super team necessarily, or at least if she was, she didn't really have them in mind. They were, which adds to them being the lowest of the low. These characters nobody wants. They're just losers, stuff like that. She didn't even see them as winners. All of that shit was bullshit, just so she could make them do some shit. You know, it kind of shed some light a little more on what her intentions were with them.
Well, and also, since I'm really surprised too with some of that too, because like, why wouldn't you have Yelena be like a public facing hero? Like, everybody loved Black Widow because she was an Avenger. And, you know, because of, we found out later through other stuff, apparently everyone knows everything that happened when everybody was blipped away. Like, everybody knows exactly how the fight with Thanos went, and everybody knows Nat went and sacrificed. You know what I mean? So everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, look, it's Natasha's sister." Hell yeah, face right there. The woman that sacrificed herself to beat Thanos and bring everybody back. Her sister is taking up her mantle. The PR writes itself.
Yep.
But no, I mean, I liked the introduction to her. You know, she's so with that, the Florence Pugh really was on top of that building. And if you don't know, that building is the second largest building in the world. She really was on top of that. She really did jump off of it. Now, she jumped like 5 feet onto like a platform, like right there. But yeah, she really was up on the second tallest building in the world. You know,
That's
not
cool.
doing a full on Tom Cruise, but she did a little Tom Cruise. That's crazy.
I love that. I love that she did that. I
But
mean,
yeah.
I've done something like that before. So you know what? I love it. It's thrilling. It's exciting. It's fun.
You've jumped
get
off
it.
the second tallest building in the world?
It's one of them. The one in Vegas.
Okay.
The Cumuloculus or whatever it's called. I don't forget. The Stratosphere.
Yeah.
Jumped off that.
But yeah, it was, you know, so she really did that and stuff. And like, I really like too that like she's so done this so many times that she's like narrating what's going to happen while she's doing it. I thought that was really cool. Also, really cool, like detail, if anybody noticed, while she's like fighting or while that guy's shooting at her and all that other stuff. In one of like the kind of background labs, you see two people that were voided out.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. Like when
That's
she's
cool.
first there walking around, like in the background, there's like a little lab, like exam area thing. And it kind of shows two shadows, like two people that got voided by the Sentry. Yeah. Little thing. It kind of shows that he was probably there at one point when they were experimenting on him and he can't remember. So voided some people type of thing.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
I liked the introduction to Bob. He was just in a box. They just happened to knock it over, and now all of a sudden there's a Bob there. You know. But also, why wouldn't they be kind of tipped off that maybe something is unique about him? Because you have a super soldier and two people that are at least slightly enhanced, and Bob climbing up that whole thing. Like, why the fuck is Bob able to hang with them? Like, shouldn't they have realized then that maybe, just maybe, there's something a little different with that man? Just gonna throw that out there. But no, I really liked what they did with the Sentry. That's, like I said, it is fairly decently accurate with the Sentry in the comics. That is one big thing with the Sentry. You get rid of the Void, you get rid of him. It's never permanent, but because of the way they are intertwined and the same person, I think at least in the comics at one point the Void can manifest itself separate of him, but they're still each other. But yeah, Sentry has every power known to man, almost, like type of thing, like wildly wildly strong powers. He's as powerful as like 1,000 exploding suns or 1,000,000 exploding suns. Yes, also a big part of him is just kind of ribbing Superman. You know, having every power known to man. People don't realize or remember even. Superman used to have the power to shoot a little mini Superman out of his hands. The 40s were a wild time. But yes, he did that once in the comics. He shot a little mini Superman. So what it did is it showed that way you could see Clark Kent standing there. And the mini Superman, whilst we know he's small, just made it look like Superman was just flying really high up. So they only saw mini Superman. Also, Superman originally could not fly. He really could just jump over a tall building in a single bound. Still.
He pulled the earth one time with a big chain.
Yeah.
A big one, Heather, not a small one. Don't think small. You got to think big. A chain big enough to pull the earth with, that size.
He also
He did it.
went around the earth so fast that he reversed time. It didn't just kill everybody. You know, he went so fast he didn't kill everybody. He actually reversed time. There's also a version of Superman. Technically, one of the things they explained in the comics, and I think they might have gotten rid of it, but the official explanation for a little bit as to why you couldn't recognize Superman and Clark Kent as the same people is because his powers kind of manipulated the way you saw him. So Superman didn't look the same to everybody. Clark Kent didn't look the same to everybody. You just perceived him differently, ever so slightly. Unless you knew both, like then your mind could comprehend they're the same person. But outside of that, your mind literally could not comprehend it because of the way you perceived them. Like physically, like they legit looked different. It was just like a passive ability, like some sort of like aura his body gave off. There was a version of Superman that got so powered by the sun, he became electric. And then he got some like goop or something dumped on him, and he split into two Supermen. There was a blue and a red one. Do you remember that time, Jastin? Do you remember Electric Superman?
Yes.
But yes, all those types of powers. That's why the Sentry's kind of all over the place. They're kind of making fun of that. I mean, yeah, back in the early 2000s, there was even a gay Superman for a while. Not because Superman was gay or anything. That's just because he got exposed to pink kryptonite, which makes you gay. If you're a Kryptonian. They were wildly being progressive, guys. You know how they showed he was gay? He'd be like, look at that guy. I don't care about sports. I like interior decorating. Real progressive. Real progressive.
Of course, because all gay people are like that. So I guess that's why he was like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so like this, the Sentry is just to kind of poke fun at Superman and just be like, oh, look, he's got a power for everything, you know, type of scenario. And, you know, he gets his power from the sun. Therefore, the Sentry is as strong as 1,000 exploding suns type of scenario. And, you know, this and that, whatever. But no, I like the way they did that with this. I loved the way that the Void looked. I thought that was actually super cool. Like just so dark that he didn't really have physical features. He was like a silhouette with those like little beady eyes. That was a really cool design. That was a really effective way of doing that. I really dug. I mean, like, I don't know if you would say David Harbour was overacting, but he was at least just having probably the most fun a human being's ever had being in a movie. It seems like he just was.
He's very extra, but it was great.
Yeah,
it's great, man. Alexi.
It was 110%, man. 110%.
That's how you do 110% and it not feel overwhelming like Jack Black was in Minecraft.
I was about to say how everyone was in Minecraft. But then you forget how non-factor the kids were or any of the other cast. It's just Jason Momoa and Jack Black.
True.
The chicken jockey, though. It had that chicken jockey, though, Sterling. Don't ever forget.
You can fuck right off that chicken jockey.
I won't let you forget about the chicken jock.
Why not, Jastin? Is it because you're a dick? See, everybody likes to sit here and talk about how nice of a guy Jastin is and how great of a person he is. And he's all Mr. Positivity and all this other shit. And that motherfucker won't let me forget about no fucking chicken jockey. You know what pisses me off, Jastin? I had forgot about the chicken jockey until you said it. I wasn't even going to mention it. Why? I had forgot about it. And then you're all, chicken jockey.
Wow. So I'm a cock for reminding you of the chicken jock.
Yeah.
A little cocky for the jockey, if you will.
You know what, Jastin? Just for that, I won't let you forget about Chicky Nuggies and Dr. Peppy.
Fuck, man. Come on, dude. Why'd you go there?
You went there first, motherfucker.
But you know that's offensive to me.
You know that's offensive to me.
You never established that. I didn't know.
I legitimately said anybody that cheered that moment is one of the worst human beings to ever exist. They are the lowest of low when it comes to all of humanity. And you want to sit there and act like that? Like I didn't say that?
What? They just damaged a few thousand theaters. What impact did it really have? Come on, Sterling. Lighten up.
Jastin, that meme damaged no theaters. It damaged nothing. You lighten up.
Come on, man.
Come on, Jastin. I don't know why you're so mad at Baby Yoda. When some chicken
Why would he know what nuggets are? He's Baby Yoda. Stop it. He's from space.
Okay, Jastin, I don't know what they did in the galaxy far, far away, thousands of years ago, whatever.
The fact that this is the thing that triggers Jastin the most is just very surprising to me. It's like this Pompey's his heart.
I gotta have some dignity about something, Heather.
Yeah, then don't bring up no chicken jockey. I won't
a
bring up no Dr. Peppy. How about that? How about that?
Okay, I won't bring up the jockey if you don't bring up the Peppy.
All right.
If you bring up Peppy, I'm gonna jockey.
All right, you bring
Just
up
know
jockey,
that.
I'm gonna Peppy. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
All right. Let's see how
So
long.
Lexi.
Red Guardian. I really kind of dug the running joke in this with the Thunderbolts. Traditionally, the Thunderbolts get their name from Baron Zemo, who is in the MCU, not in this, but he is typically considered the founder of the Thunderbolts. This Thunderbolts is not traditionally how the Thunderbolts have started. The Thunderbolts are a team of villains pretending to be heroes. And then in some instances, it's villains trying to become heroes. And then in some instances, it is just villains. Kind of more like like the Suicide Squad, where they're villains on like a prison like sentence type of thing, but they're like, hey, go hunt down some people for us. You know, you'd be our superhero Black Ops team type of scenario. The Thunderbolts have varying different things. But yeah, I kind of dug this because none of them were really villains. Even Ghost and Taskmaster, who were villains technically in their respective movies, had turned good by end. You know, they all broke good by the end of their movies anyway. So this really was just a group of, I think as you said earlier, Jastin, lovable losers, or you just call them losers?
Man, I like what you said. Lovable losers.
You know, I think that because that's what everybody called the Cups for decades. We were the lovable losers. But yeah, so it's that type of thing. You know, I it works better, especially in the MCU. Just having it's a ragtag outfit. You know, people that are used to working alone, having to work together. Even, I mean, this really, if you really think about it, this really follows the formula set forth in the first Guardians movie. A bunch of loners working, you know, forced to work together and coming together for a shared cause. Even if you look at like Groot and Rocket as, oh, well, they were partners. Yeah, so were Alexei and Yelena at one point. It really works. And technically even Yelena and Taskmaster at one point. You know, they all kind of fall into those types of things. And, you know, and that's why it shows that formula. If you do it right, it works. It can also be monumentally bad. A la David Ayer's Suicide Squad. But then notice when James Gunn did it, it works. So, you know, this movie did a really good job of that. So we brought up Taskmaster. The only thing I've really got left when it comes to spoilers is the very end. So I won't jump automatically to the end. I'll let you guys talk about some stuff, and then we can all collectively go to the end. So, Heather, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that if we're talking like criticism, sorry, is what I'm trying to say. I think I don't. And maybe it makes more sense understanding who Sentry is, but I think that it just showed him like gaining control and handling his powers well, like super fast. And just given the personality of Bob, it surprised me that he just so quickly was able to do it. But I guess maybe that's because like when he is Sentry, he's a different person really. And so he's able to just get more control over things more quickly. Is that kind of the idea behind that?
I think there's a few things that kind of fuel that. It's kind of the whole Superman thing of just being good real quick at what you do. Also, I think some of it has to do with the ideas of bipolar, because he's really playing into bipolar stuff. And so with that, possibly the idea of him being manic, like in a full-blown manic episode with grandiose ideals and all this other stuff, is when he's just kind of, his powers just manifest and he's just got it. Whereas then on the flip side, on the depressive side, void, you know, more depressed, more void. Because like, think about how, like when he's first voided, it's not that bad, but as he's going on and he's saying, there's nothing, there's this, there's that, the more quote unquote depressed he gets, and the more he is expressing those type of dark or depressive ideologies, the void's more powerful and just spreading. I think that that's kind of more what they're talking or alluding to with it, as it's working in the same way bipolar typically works in people, at a greater scale and a faster scale. Bipolar, everybody's like, oh, manic depressive, bipolar, or, you know, those type of things. Those shifts are very slow. A rapid cycling bipolar is somebody that will cycle through both manic and depressive like 2 times a year. That's a rapid cycling bipolar. You know, when people talk about like somebody with mood swings, they're like, oh, they're bipolar. No, different thing. But it's still, I think that's kind of what they're leaning into, because what was she saying when he was really getting his powers under control? She's like, you're the Avengers rolled up in one. You can single-handedly take the Avengers. What does that feed into? Grandiose ideologies, which is a symptom of somebody in a manic state.
Yeah. I did also like his response back to her about, like, you know, but you said I'm like all the Avengers, and one of those includes being a god. So if I'm a god, why would I listen to you? Why would I take orders from you? I really loved that kind of logic that he played out there, because if you think about it, yeah, like what she tried to do completely backfired in a way. So I just thought that was a really cool thing that he did there.
And with that too, that's also ties into it too, because a trait, not necessarily something that everybody experiences in a manic state, but a trait of some people in manic states is also the inability to see consequences. Because you're on such a manic high, you can't perceive consequences. And so it's the same type of thing with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just said I'm a god. Okay, I can be a god then. Why do I listen to you? What possibly could go wrong if I don't listen to you now?
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, and I think he made a good point, but you saying that too makes it even more like a double good thing, that like interesting thing that he said to her, you know? Yeah, that's cool. I mean, and like the thing too is Bob becoming the Void it was a really fascinating story that played out. Like, honestly, like seeing him locked in that room with like his darkest moments and fears, it was actually heartbreaking to watch, you know, like the idea of just being constantly trapped with the thing in your life you most regret and having to remember it over and over, the way that Yelena did with what happened. Like, that was such an effective way to show throughout this how our minds work too. Like, when we isolate ourselves, when we blame ourselves and we can't get over shame, like when we feel alone and isolated with nothing but those things, like that feeling just kind of takes over and makes us do things that we hate, but we can't see a way out of it. And like, you think about that, that's deep, Marvel. You know what I mean? Like, that is like, it's a profound experience that I think really gives so much dimension to Bob /Sentry /Void. He's an anti-hero because of his own trauma, really. He's a product of his environment who never like had the right outlet to thrive or feel seen. And Yelena is the first person to make him feel understood. And he desperately needed to feel valued in some way. He needed to not feel like all he did was make things worse or make mistakes. You know, that was kind of a thing he kept repeating. And she helped him to see his worth. That's why, like, that moment when they all come to his rescue and embrace him, it's so touching. Like, especially because how many of those of that group in that room with him all would have been so much better off if someone had just kind of been there for them like that when they felt alone or when they were at their worst. You know what I mean? Like, they just all have this deep trauma. And in a way, I think like that's what made them sort of empathize with Bob in that moment and just kind of come to him in that hour of need. It's just so well done. Like, and if I'm honest, like that's what's going to stick with me about this movie. Kind of like what you said earlier, Jastin, like more than the action scenes, more than how this progresses or sets up the next phase of things, like more than any of that, that is what stands out to me in this movie. And that's why for me, it is going to be one of the more memorable ones, you know?
Real quick though, before you move on past that part of it too. One thing I thought was really kind of funny that I'm really surprised they did in an MCU movie was mention how much meth he had done in the past. He just constantly like, yeah, but I was on meth. Like, I was just like,
that's true.
Like, they went full on. This guy used to be a meth addict. Holy shit, Marvel. I was not expecting.
I was on meth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
which was hilarious, but also kind of tragic and sad.
But I'm just really surprised Marvel even acknowledged meth exists. I never would have thought that they would have acknowledged meth is something that people do. Like, I always thought the MCU existed in a world where meth wasn't a thing. Like, they don't have the TV show Breaking Bad because no one makes meth. And in this one, he's just full on, guys. I was doing so much meth. He just like it wasn't like he just mentioned it once. They're like, oh, he used to do meth or anything like that. No. He brought it up so much. He's like, guys, I was doing all the meth. I don't remember. Like, I was like, holy shit, Marvel really leaning into that. Blew my mind.
That's true. I didn't think about that, but yeah, it's like, yep, this is that making that big turn in this movie, huh?
I really kind of wish Cap was there. So he could be like, guys, I was doing a bunch of math. And Cap's like, what's math?
What is that? Yeah.
Which weirdly enough, you could have gone, oh, that's the stuff that Hitler used to do all the time. He'd be like, oh, got it. Bad stuff.
Say less. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, like that is funny. But I mean, it's just those things too that made Bob so complex and so just such a great character. Like, just, I don't know, you feel for him, because especially like all those times when he's like, oh, all I do is make things worse and all this stuff. And it's like, that's because, that is that whole thing of like, well, what's actually the truth of the situation versus how you feel because of how you were made to feel, and like, I do love that he is a huge, like a character with that huge, like chip on his shoulder or burden on his shoulder, carrying that around, because how many of us actually have that kind of thing? And he really represents a lot of people in this movie. And I really appreciated that. And I mean, and also Yelena, like her being able to see herself in Bob was such a great way to progress her personal story. Sometimes it's not like until you're out of your own circumstance that you see what you need to learn yourself. And I think that's what Bob sort of did for her. And also like her feeling of that numbness that in a way she confused with boredom, or maybe she just, said it was boredom. Maybe that she just chalked it up to it being boredom. Like that is actually also such a real feeling. And I love that she like met Bob right at the time when she was needing to feel just anything to stop being complacent, and I totally agree, Jastin, like she is definitely a top character in the MCU for me now. She's just so fun and complex, and she plays that better than some who try and they just don't do it quite the same. Her fight scenes were really fun. And, when she's in the void, like I like the part when she's like triple axling through like the things that were flying at her. I think that was just a really cool like scene in the movie. Yeah, that was awesome. They do just have some great moments like that in there with the action, but her conversation with her dad, even with Red, what is it? Red
Guardian.
No, like what's her dad's name? What's his superhero name?
Oh, the Red Guardian.
Red Guardian. Hello. But yeah, like just that moment that she has where she's talking to him and having kind of like this heart to heart with him, that was so good. And it was so needed. And like you said, Sterling, like this is like Black Widow 2.0 in a way, where it's like, this is their story. This is about them learning and growing and getting more of the face time because they need that healing. And this is that time for them to have that. Because it was a movie of healing her, or healing for her in a lot of ways. I also agree. I think Ghost was great. She's a great supporting character. Like I do hope that she gets more in this franchise. She's really great. John Walker, like seeing him as like this very different anti-Cap was kind of weird at first. Because he's just a totally different personality than he was in the show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But then you realize it's sort of like a coping mechanism for his wife leaving. And like, he has these walls up and he's over it. He's over being just the good soldier and whatever. Like that's kind of his way of being unhinged and off the rails, is to just be like this very selfish, like all about me type of person, because it's probably easier that way for him right now. And yeah, so like seeing him grow a bit like here is just, I don't know. It actually shows that he cares about others too. And in parts of this, when he's kind of progressed along, all of these people did, all of these characters did in some way. Like Yelena, she made like such a point that none of them were good people, like in that speech she gave when she's just frustrated with everything. But then they were just there for each other and they understood each other sort of in a way that nobody really else could understand them and what they've gone through, kind of this, the burden and the weight of what they carry. And yeah, like it's just like that ragtag sort of support group that you don't expect coming out of this. Like they, I don't know, like they weren't, it feels like they just weren't happy with like how they were doing things. Like what they were doing wasn't serving them anymore. And that's sort of like the heart of this film, is just them, I don't know, like wanting to do the right thing in a way. It feels like that's like a big part of a lot of things that these characters go through. And like, honestly, that's why that dynamic works. And that's like what like makes this movie connect, I think, with so many people in the audience, because it has that emotional depth to it when they do those kinds of things. Because I mean, you think about like superheroes who are flawed, making the choice to change. That's like the closest that you can really get to relating to humankind if you're a superhero, you know? And it's just the first time in so long that I kind of feel like they got they nailed like what the motivation should be for continuing these movies. So I'm with you. Like, this is the first time I was actually excited after seeing like a Marvel film because of that. I'm like, cool, we're back. You know, we finally get it again. Like, I don't know. And maybe I am hyping this one up too much, but maybe it's also just because at this stage, I want my superheroes complex and dynamic in this way. Like, not to say that they never have been before, but like this was a slight refresher of characters and story. And it was nice. Like, with as many movies and shows and everything that they just have done, they really were kind of verging on like losing the plot. You know what I mean? And this was just a good reset of what these movies could be doing. And like, I don't know, that's just my take, but I mean, it also like the movie just kind of hit me right, I guess, which I don't know. I'm very much questioning my score now. Like, I really should have given it higher the more I'm talking about this movie. I don't know what happened here, but yeah, it's definitely one of the better MCU movies, more recently to me, and like in this phase for sure. So yeah, I don't know. There were so many layers to this that I didn't see coming, that they actually pulled off well. You know what I mean? Like, it just, so much about what they do in this works. The things that don't work, I don't really like, not that I don't remember them, but like, I don't care enough about the things that didn't work, because of everything that did worked so well.
Jastin, what about you?
Yeah. I mean, the points that y'all were making about just some of those scenes and certain things is all great. And for me, I know you said you were reflecting on your score, and I guess for me, it was a bit of a struggle. I was like, does it really deserve an A or does it not? But the more I think and reflect on this movie and just how effective it executed, as far as like, not even just like the characters and the story, we've commented on that a lot, but even just from an artistic, like movie making standpoint, I think that this executes in a lot of ways that is a cut above a lot of other Marvel movies. And when I see things like that, when I recognize things like that, to me, that says that there is more to this than just what normally you expect from a Marvel movie. There's a certain quality to this and a storytelling to this that, to me, just puts it above a lot of Marvel movies just easily, you know? Like, for instance, I alluded to the cinematography earlier in the non-spoiler, but here what I'm going to say about it is that this movie was darkened and dimmed, and the cinematography was that way for a reason. The way that this looked reflected the mood and the feelings of the characters in it, and this struggle with regret or loneliness and all of that stuff. So this was darkened at the beginning to fit the mood of what Yelena in particular was going through. That first shot of her voiceover and her talking about this feeling of emptiness and the feeling like nothing matters and things like that. And I feel like I'm in this void almost. And that shot of her standing over the building and then taking the step the 1 foot over and going over the building while talking about all this dark and dismal shit, like you couldn't help but think about a person with suicidal thoughts. Like a lot of the stuff she's saying at the beginning mirrors suicidal or depression thoughts. You know, what is it all worth? Is it worth anything? All these types of things. So right away, this movie sets a tone and the mood that to me is different from a lot of other Marvel movies. We're used to seeing that first mission and that first fight where people are just punching and kicking and knocking people out. But the artistic choice to start with that voiceover, the artistic choice to show this infiltration into this building, but to do it from a top-up view, and it's very dark, and we're seeing nothing but shadows, and she's doing her Yelena martial arts Black Widow shit, but I loved how it's dark and you're seeing all these shadows and you're seeing silhouettes of people. And as she's advancing through that hallway, kicking all this ass, she's moving more and more into the darkness, reflecting how she's feeling and this descent that is slowly happening with these characters. And I don't want to get off of here and not notice these things or talk about how important this shit is versus other movies where the same shit is happening every time. We're not just having the same scenes. We are really using these scenes to fit the themes and the stories. And this is the real shit that puts your movie in a class above all this other shit. When I'm recognizing you are paying that much attention to how you're telling the story, the visuals of the story, and how effective and how you are making everything match up with the themes, to me, that puts your movie above other movies.
Well,
all the movies got jokes. All the movies got some decent performances. All the other movies got laser beams and martial arts and punching and kicking. This is the shit that sets you apart.
Well, to comment specifically what you're talking about, especially at the beginning when you're talking about like visually doing things and stuff like that, one thing you can even argue too with that is Yelena's costume, or in the beginning sequence, she's fucking wearing a sweatsuit.
Yeah.
Like, she is just so done doing all this shit. She's like, I'm not even putting on tactical shit. I'm like, I'm going to go be comfy in a sweatsuit.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. Like, she very well could have rolled out of bed that morning wearing that, going, good enough. Like, just to even add to what you're talking about when you're talking about visually expressing some of the themes and stuff like that, you can argue like her outfit in that instance wouldn't have been what she had wore in a different circumstance. Like whenever she got the mission to go follow somebody in to the vault to make sure this and that, like, that's your final mission like this, then we're going to make you more of a face. What did she do? She put on more tactical gear. Like, she was really, she took it more seriously because that was her final one. That was the way out. But when she's just going through the motions, dark sweatsuit, you know, that type
good
of
shit,
thing.
Sterling. That's a good catch. And that's like another reason, like, we're doing all of the little things right. That's why this movie is fucking good. We're making the right decisions and we're doing all the little things so that when we get to the big shit, it matters, man. Like, and sometimes you feel like with some of these Marvel movies, that's what missing. We are just getting from point A to point B, but and the whole point is, how do we get from this comic thing to this comic thing? But this shit was telling a story, man. It mattered that we were depressed. It mattered that these characters felt and had regrets, and the light and the dark and the battle of that within yourself. It mattered in this movie. It wasn't just there on the surface. And when it matters, it's everywhere. It's not just when we need the scene to have it. It's all over it. It's everywhere. These motherfuckers that made this movie knew what they were doing, dog. They were trying to make more than just another Marvel movie, man. And it's all in the movie.
Well, you might be happy, Jastin. This director, I've seen some conflicting reports, but this director is either in talks to or has been assigned to do the X-Men movie, the first X-Men movie in Phase 7.
Well, that shit might have a shot, bruh. We might have a shot, bruh. We got a lot of X-Men. We got a lot of characters. We got a lot of chairs that we saw in that Avengers movie. So we got a big task in front of us, man. But maybe if we could tell the story kind of like this with the quality of this, then anything is possible. Y'all already kind of talked about the base scene where, yes, she goes in there and infiltrates Taskmaster and they all meet up and they're fighting. Man, that fight was hella cool, man. That shit with that knife being thrown around and ricocheted and John Walker catching it and then trying to stab her, but she deflects it, then another character grabs it and all that shit. That shit was hella cool, man. When they were all fighting each other, there was a lot of cool shit happening, and seeing like literally the difference in how everybody is fighting and stuff like that, I thought that was really cool. When John Walker punched somebody or hit somebody, they flew back further because he's a super soldier. You know, he's stronger than them. So that was shown. It showed kind of some of the tactical intelligence of like Yelena and her resourcefulness and using her surroundings. So even though she doesn't have powers like some of these people, she's formidable in other ways, just hiding, picking and choosing certain opportunists and all that. Very opportunistic fighter. So they showed all the parallels very well. And like I said, all of this was unexpected because I thought this movie was going to start with everybody being a team. So all of this was fun. It was a surprise and everything like that. And yeah, Taskmaster, I did not have on my bingo card Taskmaster being killed. And a part of me is like, well, fuck, man, damn, we didn't do nothing with that character. Like, golly, that character's dead. But I'm holding out hope for two things. I feel like on one level, might be an admittance that we didn't do the Taskmaster right in the first place. Me and Sterling complained in Black Widow at length that it wasn't the gender swap part that we complained about. We didn't complain about that at all. But we did complain that this just wasn't enough like the Taskmaster we know. The Taskmaster playing the mind games, talking shit, being the quippy, funny Taskmaster that we know. So if killing this one is an admittance kind of, okay, yeah, we fucked up, guys, but we killed this one because maybe down the road we can actually get a more accurate one or a different one, I can kind of hold out hope for that. Maybe we'll do some time traveling and there will be another multiverse Taskmaster that is like the one we know and love. So killing a character means that you have a chance. Sometimes that means you have a chance to do the character right. Or maybe it was, well, we didn't do the character right, so let's just kill the character here and do something else. Or maybe they were like, well, the character doesn't really match the themes. This character doesn't have, or maybe the character story is too similar to the other Black Widows with the, I was brainwashed and now I'm back and now I'm trying to redeem. Maybe the stories are too similar. So maybe it was too overstuffed if that character lived.
And the funny thing
I kind of
is,
understand it from a creative standpoint.
And it's super easy to redo Taskmaster and it work out. Because whether or not you gender swap it or whatever, it doesn't matter. Because a lot of her stuff was like that mask that helped, like, you know, you can have that interface, whatever. You can just have dead body. Somebody go in there and go, let's steal that tech. Give it to a new person. All they got to do is talk shit. and do that stuff, fine. That's all you need. They just also have to talk shit. And it's real easy to incorporate this Taskmaster and the new Taskmaster because it's just the technology. And like if there's some like brain stuff where they put some, cybertronics in the brain, that they can do all that and integrate it with the mask, and that way it works and all this. Okay, that's easy. They do shit like that all the time in the movies and the comic books and all this other stuff. You just have to have it in somebody that talks shit. It don't matter if it's a guy, woman, any of that stuff. Like, just talk shit and use that technology. Bam, done. Real easy, especially because she's dead. Like I said, the technology is literally just sitting in that bunker. Now, I know it got incinerated or whatever, but you're telling me there's only one of those masks. Like, she just has the one? No, she probably got 2 or 3. You can't have just one. If it breaks, then you're useless. She got to have at least 2 or 3 masks. Telling me, I'm just saying that, what's her name? The Julia Louis-Dreyfus character, that they didn't find some way to scan that to create their own. You know what I mean? Like anything like that. Because now that I think about it, yes, they was incinerated by the thing because she was incinerated. But then she's like, oh yeah, we, while she slept, we took her mask and scanned it, and we made our own. We made our own Taskmaster. Some guy that's a dick.
Yep. And you could have some fun stuff where he don't get along with the team, and they could even kick him out and say, man, get out of here or something. He could always reprise or come back later. You could do some funny stuff with a different, more like the Taskmaster we know. So
my only worry is that they would Deadpoolify him, make him just more funny, because there's a big difference between, he says some funny things, but guys, massive dick.
Yeah, you're right. There's got to be a different tone than that.
He's got to be almost cruel with the things he says. You know what I mean? Like, Deadpool's just trying to be funny, and he might hurt your feelings, but he's trying to be funny. No. I'm talking about downright cruel when you're talking shit. Being like, I know why you fight like this, because your mom left you when you were 4 because your dad was a drunk. Like, that type of shit. Like, be fucking cruel with it. That's that shit.
Yeah, that's Taskmaster, all while you're trying to fight him, and he's copying your moves.
I mean, which would have lended well to this movie with everything they were dealing with internally, and like just to make them doubt themselves more if someone like that was around saying those things. But I guess we kind of don't need that because the Void in general does that. But that is an interesting way to keep Taskmaster going. It
would have been kind of funny though if they had a Taskmaster that did that stuff, and while they were fighting the Void, you could have him actually kind of getting one up on him because he's like, I can kind of figure out what you're doing and all this other stuff. But because he's talking about so much negative shit, that's what forces him into the Void, and then that's what fucks him, is he turned him into the Void. And just gets sucked into the Void instantly. And everybody else then like runs away, and they're like, fuck, man. What the fuck was that? And then at the end of the movie, he just happens to be alive when everybody gets unvoided, and he's just like, and then they could go fight him, and they're like, did you learn a lesson, dick?
And like, it's, and like, just like a lot of the decisions in there. So like, the Taskmaster dies and everything. But I also like this thing of each character sort of had this moment, and they were consistent doing that with the movie, where when those characters are trapped in that in there and about to be incinerated, there was kind of this moral moment where the character could have left the other ones, but kind of came back, and we kind of showed that they're not a team yet, and they're not all like in lovey-dovey with each other. But I like that hint of there's a good side to all of these people. Like, there is a side to them. Yes, they're all being dicks. Yes, we're all kind of losers. Yes, we were sent here to kill each other. All this crazy shit is happening, but Ghost is going to get out first, and then there's going to be that moment of, is Ghost going to come back? Is she going to open the hatch? And she does. Then You know, they're all up there at the top of the tower, which I loved all of that. I like how Bob was the one who suggested, let's get back to back and try to climb up the tower. The banter back and forth is funny. The camera shots that they did were fun with that. That was just a fun scene that we put in all the characters. And in a way, I don't know if this is like something that they do in therapy or something, but it almost felt like one of those, like, you got to trust each other kind of therapy exercises that they do in group therapy or something. So it almost kind of felt reminiscent of something like that. I don't know. I'm not saying this was like a trust fall or something, but in a way it felt like maybe a cousin of something like that. Like, we got to do this exercise where we're all together, and if one person falls, we all fall. You know, it kind of felt like something like that. So I think even that, doing that sort of thing kind of fit within the kind of the themes of this movie. And then there was that moment where they got to the top and John Walker was the one who got up there. And even though they didn't like the way he did it, he still pulled everybody up and got everybody up there. So everybody kind of got these little moments to show that maybe there is more to them than just this loser side that we don't know. So I like how the movie was doing that. And Bob, yes, was a great character. I love the awkward way that they met him and how he was there. His interactions with everybody were great. Everything about how you're discovering that he's got these powers and everything like that. So all of that stuff was good. And what I think I liked really about the Bob Century character and everything, and you guys were talking earlier about like how like everything about his mood and the manic stuff and kind of the dichotomy of the two sides. One thing that I noticed about it, or I felt like might have been another message in the film they were saying with him, was when he was the Century, or whenever, especially whenever he was more confident in his abilities. And he said, you know what? I could control these powers. I have power. I have this ability. And when he had that moment in bed where he told Valentina, I can control this. And when he was confident in himself and was fully trying to focus and harness his abilities and do something that he thought was meaningful, I think it was very telling that when Bob can do this, he's invincible. He can do anything. He can do whatever he puts his mind to. He can't be hurt. He can't help anyone he wants to or hurt anyone he wants to. When he puts his mind to it, there is nothing that he can't do.
Well, even on top of that, too, it's not even enough that he's bulletproof. I can also just stop the bullets midair.
Exactly.
Like, it's not even that, because he is. We saw earlier in the movie, completely invulnerable to bullets. No. I also don't even have to get hit by them if I don't want to. That's how powerful I am.
Yes. When he's in his right mind and he is confident and he is really doing something that he fully believes in, he's limitless. But there's also this other side that is equally as dangerous and formidable. That's the void. And that's all given into your darkest side and your depression and your darkest moments and everything that you guys talked about. What a wonderful dichotomy for a character, and what a relatable dichotomy, because how many people say that about the human psyche anyway? How good are we at our jobs or at our projects or whatever we're doing when we are fully invested and fully confident in what we're doing and fully engaged in what we are doing? How good are we when we can fully invest in that? But how equally bad are we when we can't, when we don't feel that life is working, when we get too wrapped up in maybe the bad of what we're doing or what didn't work out or what has happened in our past, etc. So I think it's very fitting that he was able to learn this so quickly and do this so quickly, because Bob is great when he really is being himself and harnessing the best of what he is. When he's the best of what he is the best. And when he's the worst of what he is the fucking worst. And so I loved that. I love that dichotomy.
But also with that too, it's also telling too, because you also typically, I mean, just the way human beings work, you also typically don't get the best if you also don't have your worst. Like, you know what I mean? Like those are both parts of you. So when he loses the worst part of him with the void, he does lose the sentry.
Yeah.
They're intrinsically intertwined within him.
Mm-hmm.
You want the sentry, you get the void. Because it always goes to that type of thing, that saying when people say like, oh, if they can't handle you at your worst, they don't deserve you at your best. That type of thing. Just saying that, you know, that is the whole totality of what it means to be human, that your best is also intrinsically tied to your worst, just because you are the same person. Like they both exist in you.
It's all who you are. Yeah.
The what was your worst and what is your best are parts of what make you as a whole person. You can't sit there and just claim your bests and not acknowledge your worst when you're acknowledging yourself. You have to do both. And it's not to say you have to like keep the worst in the forefront of your mind, whatever. But I'm just saying when it comes to the totality of what you are as a person, your worsts are a part of you.
Yes.
Even if they are just a part of your history, they are a part of what made you who you are at any given point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're now your best self, that could be because 6 years ago you were your worst self. That's how you got out of worst self, was to be, and that's how you were able to become your best self, was because you were your worst self. And I'm not saying that's intrinsically everybody, but everybody has a worst. Yeah. Everybody has their best. They all vary.
Mm-hmm. And they're constantly, and there's that constant back and forth. You're never going to necessarily get rid of that. Yeah, you can, because that's just an intrinsic part of who we are. We just have our good and bad days. You have your good and bad things that have happened to you, but that shit is kind of always a part of you. That doesn't mean it defines you or controls you or anything like that. Obviously, that's not good. But like you're saying, it's always existing, though. It's always a part of the makeup that is you.
Yeah. And I mean, it really kind of comes down to it, too, whenever, like these people that are like, oh, I transform my lives. I used to be overweight. Now I do CrossFit all the time. And I eat better and I do CrossFit. But then also, you know what their worst is? The fact of how much they talk about CrossFit.
Specifically. Yeah.
I'm looking at you, CrossFit people. Do your CrossFit. That's fantastic. I'm happy for you. Shut up.
I mean, so I guess technically would that mean that Bob is pretty much just what lies in the middle? Like if Sentry's his best and the Void is his worst, is Bob just like, this is just me on a normal basis? Like I'm coasting in the middle. Like this is just me at my normal.
I mean, to quote Bob, he did the dishes.
Yeah, I loved that part too. And he's like, you know what? But I did do the dishes. It's like, you know what? That's respect because,
hey, those motherfuckers weren't doing it. Bob did the dishes.
Nobody's ever talked about doing the dishes in Marvel, probably. But like, yeah, it's just like, you know what? This isn't anything grand, but this is what I did to contribute. And here I am, like that's real,
Bob is just full of MCU firsts. First person doing dishes, first person doing meth, just all the firsts.
Yeah.
He is just the most intricate character.
Which weirdly enough fits into what we're talking about. Meth, bad. Dishes, good. Both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying, Heather. And maybe that's what Bob, just regular Bob, no century, no void is. He's that delicate balance. He's that time when things are mellow, right? Like where things are cool. That's your time where you're just cool and
He's
you're just
most
coasting.
days.
You're
Yeah.
just existing. That's just the typical casual day, right? Everything's fine. I'm going to work. I'm just kind of living my life, and and then Century is your best. It's like your best day. You feel invincible. I can do anything. Man, I was really productive today. Man, I went to the gym, did overtime, and kissed my girlfriend today. Whatever the fuck. I said all the right things today. And then the void is your worst fucking days. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
It's all there in that character, which I think is why he's so relatable.
I just want to know what his bad version of doing the dishes is, though. I know I brought up meth, but I think we can at least agree meth is not the same scale as dishes. Like, it's not meth dishes, same. There is, I want to know what that is. Like, was he doing the dishes? Was the bad version of it? Because whenever he last cooked dinner, he used 19 pots. And he's like, oh, I'm a dick if I leave these 19 pots. I made a mess. Let me do dishes. That's what I want to know.
But then what is also his best doing dishes?
Well, doing the dishes. Like I said, none of those motherfuckers are doing them.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if Sentry's doing dishes, how's that looking?
Oh, he just obliterates the dishes and then mentally telepaths new dishes into there.
Yep.
There it is. Yep.
Yeah. Or sitting there going, well, why do I need to wash them at all? Germs can't hurt me. Or, it would just be something. He might be sitting there questioning why he should be washing them at all.
And the void version of doing the dishes is the dishes no longer exist. There are no dishes.
There are no dishes. Yep. Yep. But another thing it's saying about it all, and with just to talk really quickly about Yelena's relationship with him. Another thing, though, that's, yes, you don't like your bad days. We're not saying, oh, it's great to have them or anything. But when you've been through some bad, it's sometimes easier to empathize with somebody else that is going through it. And like the connection she had with him was exactly what you talked about, Heather. She saw some of the same feelings in him because she was feeling the same way. I like this arc of their first interaction. It was great. But her telling him, you just got to bottle it up and keep going. Oh, we know that ain't always the answer, right? That's not necessarily the best answer, but that was her answer, right? That's what she was doing. She was just kind of bottling it all up and not talking about it. And so she told somebody else that. So I like how by the time we get to the end, Yelena grows kind of in her perspective of how to handle this. She had to grow and have that journey and everything too. I too loved that talk that Yelena and her father had. And David Harbour, that's also the mark of great acting because, yes, he was funny anytime he was yelling, yes, or talking about, oh, we got to formulate this team and all that kind of stuff. But bro, when it was time to go the other way and be dramatic and be like, look, I know I'm late. I wasn't there for you then, but I'm here for you now, man. And her daddy, I'm so alone, man. That was a great fucking scene, man. I just have to also compliment it too. Like,
Yeah, I mean, because he even had like the watery eyes and the tears as he was like about to talk to her about like how he felt. Like that was so good. It was so subtle and good because he was just like, no, Elena. And he's crying before he even says it because what he's about to say is so like emotional for him. It was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that the first time she's called him daddy? I mean, maybe.
Well, she did when she was a kid.
Might have, or maybe in the first Black Widow.
I think then before she realized, before they had their whole oh, is it real? Is it not real? Like, were we really a family? Were we not really a family? All those types of things. You know, I think that because they came to a good place at the end of it, but I think she was still kind of distant, especially with the blip.
And most of the time, I'm pretty sure she was just calling him Alexi.
Yeah.
But
and then also
that really hit when she said, Daddy, I'm so alone. And all I do is go home and think about the terrible things I do and get, and then go back to work and then think about the terrible things. Man, there's some relatable shit like about that, man. Or, that's what depression is. You just are reliving your mistakes and all the bad shit over and over again. It was just really relatable shit.
Well, even with that too, like, they had kind of had not necessarily a falling out, but like a separation, because I don't know if Alexi was blipped, but if she was, that like he got used to not having them in her life. So people come back, so they're not necessarily communicating the best. You know what I mean? Like they had lost touch, like they had like separated in that regard. And because of, she's off running around doing missions and he's got nothing. And so he doesn't even necessarily want to talk to her not because of anything she did or anything like that, but he's also embarrassed of his life. He's like, what do I have now? He lies about his limo business, this and that. And all he wants is to go back to that glory. And so it's like, he doesn't want to communicate with her, not because he doesn't love her or want to know anything. He's just afraid that if he's not the Red Guardian, who is he? And if he doesn't know who he is, how can she look at him in any sort of regard? And it's like, so I avoid talking to her, even though I want to, because I'm not who I want to be. Therefore, she can't possibly want me in this situation either.
Yeah. And how often is that like a real thing too? Like, with friends or people, where you're just like, oh, my life went so differently than I thought it would. And yours seems to be going well. And so I just didn't think you wanted to talk to me anymore. Or something like that happens like all the time, I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you're saying, it ties back to him no longer being the Red Guardian or no longer having that glory or no longer feeling like he's the right protector. So if I can't be that anymore, if I'm not that guy anymore or right now, or I don't feel that I'm that person, like you said, Sterling, does she really want me as a father? Like he said, I didn't think you wanted me. Like, who am I? I'm sitting here, on my couch and like, I'm not, nobody knows who I am anymore. I'm not the Red Guardian anymore. So how could I be a guardian for you? That's some real shit too, coming from that older adult, maybe parent side, where a parent is not always confident that they are the right person or the right one to be the emotional support. Or maybe it's just a friend who feels like they're not good enough to be a friend of this person going through. Well, and that's relatable too. There's been some times where I'm like, well, shit, I don't know anything about that. I can't talk to this person or help this person. I don't know anything about what's going on, or I don't know what it is. I can't relate to them in a way, but sometimes you just need to be an ear or just be a shoulder or just listen, and his story about, well, when you used to play on that team, you were the goalie and because you wanted to cover for people and you wanted to make up for people's mistakes and all of that kind of stuff. That's when you were the most happy. And, and even that whole thing with the team, how she was like, we never won a game. We were bad. And he said, but you were happy. That's the fucking movie, man. We're not the best team. We're bad. We're losers. But if we come together, form this team, and we do this together, and we learn together, and we hurt together, and we overcome together, this will make you happy. That brightness that it left you that he kept talking about, you can get that shine back, which also ties into the light and the dark and everything in this movie. Like, it's underselling this movie to just call it another Marvel movie, man. Like, the themes are all over this shit. It's like all over the characters, and like I don't want it to be undersold. The quality that was in the characters, the dialogue, it's all over this shit. And I need these other movies coming up to be like this. I want to be able to line the shit all up and see how everything matches up, just like it did in this movie. Like, this shit was on point, bro.
Fun fact too about the whole attention to detail. Yelena in Russian means bright one or shining light, I think, or something like that. So
That's
her
tight.
name actually means that, which is really cool.
That's tight. And I know we want to get to this ending, man, and there's so much more shit I want to talk about, but let me quickly say something about Bucky, though, and Sebastian Stan. That was badass when he was on the bike doing the Terminator shit with the gun and all that shit. That was T2. That was badass because it's him and Sebastian Stan.
It's also Winter Soldier from Captain America Winter Soldier.
He did roll up on a bike and fuck up a tank, didn't he? Or was it like
well, whenever he rolled up on who was it? Was it Fury? When he does the whole thing and he shoots the thing under the car and it explodes, like he was doing all that stuff.
Yep, yeah, when he did that. And that was great when Walker was like, yeah, oh shit. And then the car got blown up and stuff. Another great scene. That whole shit in the car with the chase was just great shit. There were people like hating on Bucky. Like I was looking at some online stuff and they were like, why is Bucky even a congressman? We don't even know why he's in the government and stuff like that. And I'm like, are we that dense that we just can't follow like a basic story? Like he's trying to atone for everything he did. He went through the therapy. Then he tried to make those little things happen. And then like, what happened at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier? What was Sam saying? We all need to be better. He was looking at those government officials going, you need to be better and stuff like that. Is it so hard to believe that one of these heroes would go, well, instead of punching everybody, maybe I can do something in the government. Let me try to get elected. Let me try to do something in the government to help. Jastin, like, why is that so hard to understand?
Jastin, what are you talking about, Jastin? How can you possibly say that a character that spent decades brainwashed and murdering people from somebody else, from essentially an enemy country and an enemy organization, why would they possibly maybe feel bad and want to affect change in a non-physical or violent way? What do you mean, Jastin? How could anybody possibly just know that?
Yeah, like, is it so hard for us to understand? Does everything have to be spelled out for you? What is happening? Like, how do you see his whole journey and not understand why he's doing it? Like, I mean, it's just, God,
Jastin,
people just...
How could that possibly play into this movie where he's having imposter syndrome and feeling inadequate in that role because he feels like he can only handle things in one way, and then learning that whilst maybe not only being able to do things in that one way, you can still use those skills that you have to affect change in a way that's still positive also.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, Jastin? Are you saying that they were possibly trying to add depth to the Bucky character between movies by giving us clues in both the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Captain America Brave New World with his cameo there and his entire part of the story at the beginning of this movie? Jastin, what are you talking about?
Exactly, right? Like, yeah, what am I talking about? I couldn't believe people were saying that shit. Like, Bucky was hella cool. And he made sense with these characters because, too, it made sense that he was kind of like a pseudo-ish sort of leader for them, too. Because, well, the situation, how it came about was funny, but also he's been there. He's done the therapy. He's done some of the steps. He's not all perfect or anything, but he's done some of that stuff. So he's been them, you know?
Wait, Jastin, are you saying he's been the character that didn't know who he was and didn't know where he was going and had to do things and meet people and go to therapy and work on things to get better and to find his place in the world and to move on from that to better himself. Is that what you're saying, Jastin?
It's not on theme.
Yeah. None of
Idiots.
that's on theme. It's not on theme. And the last thing I'll talk about so we can get to this fucking in and talk about it. I just wanted to quickly comment on what happened at the end with the whole confrontation and the voiding everybody and stuff like that. Yes, I gasped when the little girl got voided up because that was just the timing of that. That
Dude.
was such a sweet moment. And I was thinking about Red Guardian. He was like, I want to save people in the streets. Also, bravo, saving people in the streets. Just saving superheroes, saving regular people.
Jastin,
Bravo.
I
I
chuckled.
missed it. It
I
felt like it had
chuckled
been
so
too
hard.
long.
When that little girl disappeared, dude, I chuckled, man. I chuckled. Dare I say I chorted. It was funny. That got me. That little girl disappeared. I went,
I could see you in the theater just having a time.
Dude,
Just having a
it was so
just
funny.
having
That
a
little
wonderful
girl's like,
time.
thank you for funny. That was probably my favorite joke in that movie.
joke. It wasn't a joke, Sterling.
Dude,
I
you
got news
can't
for
tell me that
It
wasn't a joke.
It
was a
wasn't
joke.
played for laughs, brother.
It was meant
You
for
were just
laughs.
a morose motherfucker.
No, that was
It's
meant for
just-
laughs. You go look at that script, Jastin. That script says hold for applause and laughter after that happens. It's a joke.
No, Sterling. You interpreted that because you were morose. But
Because it was funny as shit.
but I did appreciate them saving people and again just coming together in a not so conventional way. You know, they were just like, man, we suck. We got deboed by the Sentry, which was a great scene also. When he whooped everybody's ass and he freaking pushed Red Guardian out the window, I was like, oh God. And then we already killed one person. Don't kill Red Guardian. And then he brought it back in. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. I don't know if Red Guardian, I know he's a super soldier. I don't know if he would have survived that. But all that shit was good. The callback to Avengers where Valentina's drinking the drink behind the bar was just like Tony Stark in Loki, you know? Her being so condescending, going, look at y'all, a cute little team, was the exact opposite of Tony Stark talking them up like, hey, yeah, we're the Avengers. We're like Earth's mightiest heroes. So even the contrast of that shit, we're in this Avenger building and our leader person, our Nick Fury-ish person is talking down this Thunderbolt team. The parallels of that showing you that we're on opposite sides of the thing is just really cool. Even all that city saving that we were doing, that was about where we were having the New York invasion fight with the original Avengers. So even those parallels are cool and interesting and just thoughtful and just very artistic what it was doing with our kind of opposite Avenger team. And the last thing I'll go over is what happened inside the Void. First things first, yes, all of that stuff with Yelena and her going through the Void and everything like that was great. My only complaint is I wouldn't have minded 15 more minutes to see everybody else go through their rooms. That's what I needed. I needed to see Ghost go through a room. What did she see? What did Walker see? Now, we saw a scene with Walker and his wife, and that was great. But was he reliving himself killing that guy in Falcon and the Winter Soldier and maybe having some regret? What did everybody else see when they went through their dark rooms like Yelena? So that might have been the only thing I would have added to that. Or if there are some deleted scenes that they cut and those characters went through the rooms, I'd be interested to see what the other characters saw when they were voided.
Oh yeah, there's tons of that stuff that I think that they shouldn't have left out, but they did. But also kudos for them for doing that, because I'm not going to lie, ever since I knew it was going to be the Century and it's the Thunderbolts, I'm like, how the fuck are they going to have the Thunderbolts beat Century? And especially because I know the Void. I'm like, especially how the fuck are they going to beat him if he's the Void? How the fuck is that a thing? And you know what? Kudos to this movie for having the audacity to go, they do it by hugging in his brain. Not a fight. They hug in his brain. Because, yeah, that actually makes sense as to how they beat the Voids last Century. Because I don't think there's any other conceivable, hey, we're going to write this story version that you could fucking make that work. Especially when there are a bunch of people that just shoot people. They shoot and they punch. None of that does anything to the Century.
Yeah.
There are people like Captain America who are known to be strong as fuck. Bucky, known to be strong as fuck. Their punches do nothing to the Century. He really is the equivalent in a lot of cases. And it's comics. So yes, there are times that, you know, the Hulk goes toe to toe with him or Thor goes toe to toe with him. There's also times he can wipe the floor with him. That's comics, you know. But yeah, if the Hulk punching you is what makes it a fair fight, Bucky, Cap, you know, Walker, Red Guardian ain't doing shit. You know who's especially not doing shit? Ghost and Yelena. They're extra not doing shit to you. And kudos to this movie for going, you know what? No final fight sequence. They're going to hug it out. And that's how you beat this guy. Yeah. Because that's actually the most accurate way to do it.
Yeah. It wasn't a fist fight, but it was definitely a mental one. And what I loved about it was how they sequenced that and brought that out, because first, when Yelena gets to Bob, she goes, well, let's go through all the worst rooms together. That was big. You got a support system. Let's face these traumas together. Let's go through together. Let's face them and don't think. And even though, yes, it's Bob facing them, understand that you are not alone anymore. You got a support system. You got people that care about you. Let's go through these rooms together. It was big that we did that first. What I loved about when Bob finally faced the Void is that, you know, they're there face to face and he's talking him down and saying, oh, who are you? Who do you think you are? You're nothing. We're nothing. All that kind of stuff like that. The stuff he's constantly, that bad part of himself is constantly telling himself. And he goes, I can beat you. I'm stronger than you. And he's on top of the Void and he's punching the Void and he's angrily punching the Void. And as he's punching him and dominating him, one person might have thought in that moment, okay, this is it. You know, Bob has overcome him. But I love how him punching the Void out of anger wasn't the answer. The anger was taken over. So this is now just another emotion that is the wrong emotion taken over. He was punching the Void and starting to become the Void. And the Void's laughing, and Yelena's like, this is exactly what he wants. You're taking that sort of, I guess, lethargic or depressive emotion and it being overcome with an anger or just an overwhelming anger and hitting your problem and trying to punch this problem. And that's not the answer either. So I love that wasn't the solution either. And finally, that hug meant everything, because the way it was acted, the way it was depicted, them sort of breaking out of their trauma chains or their shame rooms and getting through those so that they could help the one who was kind of suffering the most. That was great, man. It was great visually. It meant everything, like what Sterling is talking about. And the fact that was the solution. We actually had a mental struggle and battle. This is a mental health movie. So what more of a way for it to end than mentally? It's got to be a mental battle. So again, everything lines up perfectly. So it was so great. It was so refreshing. And we actually managed to do something pretty different. So yeah, I'm in agreement of just how impactful and memorable that scene was. All right, I'm done. We can go to the ending.
Well, yeah, so going into the ending, you know why I was so mad, Jastin? Very end of this movie, they're like, hey guys, new Avengers. And they're like, hell yeah, we own you now, new Avengers. And then you get Alexi at the store, and he's like, look, new Avengers on the Wheaties box. What are you talking about? All that stuff, right? All that stuff. And then 5 minutes later, they're like, oh yeah, Sam Wilson's actually trying to do the new Avengers. You're not really the new Avengers. Even though we just spent the end of this movie 10 minutes ago saying you're the new Avengers, we're going to now say the guy, the Captain America that is now there, is making his own Avengers. You're not the new Avengers. Like, why are you putting that part so quickly after finally declaring them the new Avengers? You don't even make it out of this movie before they're being challenged for the Avengers title. Why? That quick. Why?
Man, I didn't have it on my bingo card. You complaining about that. To me, I thought that was cool. I was like, oh shit, there's going to be some conflict with, because we heard Sam say in the Red and the Brave, or whatever that movie's called, that, oh man, we're going to make that's not what the movie was called, was it? Brave New World.
Might as well be.
No, Captain America, the Red and the Brave. Sure.
The Red and the Brave. Okay.
The Red,
Yes.
the Green, the Brave.
Yes. He said, oh, I'm going to make another Avengers team. So I don't know. I think that's intriguing. That's a storyline where you might have these two teams that might be at odds and have to come together. You could have like a Civil War situation.
No. I'm
kinda
fine
cool.
with that. I'm fine with that concept. I don't need it 10 minutes after, though, is my point.
Okay.
Yeah. Avengers Doomsday, sure. Have that sequence 100% fine with it. I don't need you telling me that, though, 10 minutes after you said they're the new Avengers, going, oh, Sam Wilson's got his own new Avengers and he's copywriting it. And like, I don't need that part before this movie's technically finished, is my problem.
Okay.
That's my big problem with that. That's what I truly hated. I truly hated that part. Like I said, what you just described in the next movie, 100%, that's what they should do. That makes the most absolute sense. 100%. Just have that scene in the next movie. Don't have it right then. You know what I mean? That's all. That's my point with that.
So it was just too much for you.
It just
Okay. See, like I wasn't even sitting there thinking, man, why are you doing this to me now? I was just sitting there going, oh shit, man, there's going to be some conflict. We're going to have two Avengers teams and they're going to have to come together and do something. You know, I was just getting excited about thinking about the possibilities of what that could be. And then it was fucking hilarious when Red Guardian goes, I got the solution to all of this. Let's just put a Z right there, which is so 90s and like so like that was just like,
well, it's the big joke also.
God, he was great at that moment.
It's the big joke though also of like Russia in the Cold War was like 10 years behind, like culturally speaking, 10 years behind America. So it's like now he's like, yeah, with a Z, because he's still kind of stuck in that. He's just now catching up to the Z era of everything.
Yeah.
No, but it's just one of those things. It's like, I would have been fine if they were like, hey, like, I think it would have been actually kind of a little bit better if they were like, hey, if Yelena's talking to somebody, it was like talking to Bucky. It was just like, hey, did Sam hit you up about joining his new team? Not doing the whole, it's new Avengers and new Avengers. You know what I mean? Like, you could fully mention Sam's actively getting a team together and all this stuff. And Bucky's like, yeah, we're not necessarily on the same page with that. You know, just like he did in this. I just don't need them right after they're like New Avengers. They're like, oh yeah, Sam copyrighted New Avengers. He's taking the name that we just got 10 minutes ago. You know, that's the part of it I didn't need. I agree. The storyline should go there. Just 10 minutes. 10 minutes. It was literally the length of the credits. It's the amount of time they were the New Avengers. And now they're going around and they have their posters and it's all Thunderbolts and they're ripping it away and it says New Avengers and all this stuff. But it's not, because they just said at the end of the movie, Sam's taking that name. I don't need that.
Okay. I'm trying to make it make sense, and it just doesn't, because I'm just excited about this story. I like that, even though they have proven themselves to each other, but now can they prove themselves as a team to the other superheroes and people that we have out there? So it's like it's a newer kind of better arc for this team. I think now this is kind of, now how do you assimilate yourself into this world of other superheroes, especially all these other superheroes that were part of the original Avengers or had an association with the original Avengers. So yeah, you're the new, but are you? So I just think all of that is exciting, and that's way more exciting than like at the end of Brave New World, where we're at the end of that and you got a motherfucker going, there's going to be some more shit. At least I know what the more shit is going to be.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm going to have two teams clashing. Oh, the Fantastic Four is landed from the rocket. Oh, I have some things to be excited for now.
Well, one thing I do think would be funny, though, is if this new Avengers team is the first one to meet the Fantastic Four, and they're like, we're the Avengers. Like, that's their first introduction to this Earth's superheroes / Avengers is the Thunderbolts. And so they're like, when they meet Sam Wilson and them, they're like, oh, we're the Avengers. And I'm like, I thought they said they were the Avengers, and we met them first.
Yeah. And the coolest thing about this is that this makes it monumentally different from anything we've had before. Before, we just knew who the Avengers were, and that was it. Now we've got this whole other avenue we haven't crossed into. You've got this Avengers team, but then Sam's got a team over here. Oh shit. One of the characters, I think John Walker even said it. So who are the new Avengers? Or is it us or is it them? That's fucking awesome.
I hope
now we've got a storyline I can be excited about and look forward to and want to see happen. And I know I'm not going to be getting the same thing that I got before. So I don't find this anything to complain about. I think all this shit is exciting.
But at the same time, I can't have that storyline taking that much of the next movie, though. Because the next movie's with these people is Doomsday. I can't have the Avengers fighting over who's the next Avengers for that long in a movie that's also debuting and having Doctor Doom. You know what I mean? It can't go that long. They need to wrap that up real quick. Because
and who knows, with Fantastic Four coming out next, there could be a after credit scene in that where you see the new Avengers sitting at a table and then Sam and the other and whoever he's assembled are coming to sit at the same table, and it's like, oh shit. And it could cut off. I don't know how they're going to tell the story, but it doesn't matter how it's done right now. I'll critique that when it happens. But I am intrigued. I'm intrigued. I'm excited about what's to come.
There's only 3 movies.
And to me, that's all that matters.
There's only 3 movies in Phase 6. That's it. We have Fantastic Four. We have Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And they've already been hinting. You're getting X-Men characters. You're getting all these other people too. I can't have an hour and a half of Avenger v. Avenger. Like, there's 3 movies left. And we know Fantastic Four is going to take up at least a majority of the Fantastic Four movie. You know what I mean? So that means there's 2 movies. Now, I hope to God they don't in-game both of them, and they're fucking 3 hours and 30 minutes each. And that's why they, have an hour and a half of them doing Avengers versus Avengers, because it's 3.5 hours each. I can't do that. That break my soul.
Or maybe the dissension between them is why they lose to Dr. Doom. Like, there's a way to tell this story where it can work right. Like, if you follow the formula you did before, Thanos was able to beat them. Why? Because they were all separated. They were all kind of doing their own thing. Everybody was trying to do their own thing to defeat Thanos. And he sort of kind of split them. They were all in these groups. He had confrontations with all of them. But ultimately, what happened? He got the Infinity Gauntlet and he won the first half of an Infinity War. I could also maybe see something similar where you've got these 2 teams. They haven't figured it out all yet. And they're trying to deal with Doom in the midst of this chaos. And maybe Doom gets the upper hand because of it. You could do some fun shit with this.
And that's fine at all. I hope they don't stay that close to it, though. Because I don't want Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War again. I don't want them being, at disagreement, and he's able to beat them because he separates them. He beats them because they're all in it for themselves. I don't want that again. I already got that. I want new hotness.
And it has the chance to be. Well, I think that because you have 2 teams, it's going to be hard to tell the same story with 2 different teams trying to be the Avengers. You got the Fantastic Four. You've got all this. So I don't know. I feel like
there's at least 4 teams going into this next movie. 2 Avengers, a Fantastic Four, and an X-Men.
So I feel like you're going to get a different story. And then you got Robert Downey Jr. coming back. There's a lot of intriguing things about what's to come. And what makes me feel more confident in it was that article that Wall Street Journal printed where Kevin Feige was talking about a lot of the mistakes they made with the previous phase and being spread too thin and trying to handle all these projects for Disney, but then trying to streamline things more and put his focus more on the movies, which he wasn't quite as involved with all the movies because he had to worry about the TV shows, this, that, and the other. And there was too much shit where you have to do homework and we're trying to make everything simpler and tell more simple stories and stuff like that. So I think they're going to get it right this time. I think they're going to do the right things. And I think with more focus on these stories, they'll tell the story to where it'll be enjoyable. I don't need it to be perfect, but I need to enjoy it,
No, that's fair. Like I said, I just was really annoyed by the name thing. But real quick, also, story with that. That was actually filmed like a month ago. They filmed that on the set of Avengers Doomsday. The Russo brothers directed that end credit scene. So that was cool. Not something that was planned months ago or any of that other stuff. They literally did that on the set of Doomsday. Took some time out just to record that. And I think that is always kind of the better way they've done that. Because if you think back to some of the best end credit sequences, that's typically how they've done it. They've pulled stuff from the next movie or whatever, you know what I mean? Where it's filmed by the next guy. Because that's the next story. It doesn't typically work when you get some tail end thing that's just the same story. A la The Leader at the end of Captain America, where it's just the same people that you just saw for an entire movie and them just going, maybe some shit? I don't know. I'm not directing the next movie. I don't actually know what's happening, but maybe some shit's happening. They're able to do that in this movie because it's filmed by the people that are doing Doomsday. So they know what's fucking happening in that movie. They're a part of it. Everything that's being filmed in that end credit scene is a part of that movie. Therefore, here is part of that story. Like it works better as a teaser because it's directly related because it's by the people doing it. You know, it adds to the cohesiveness. The only time they've really ever able to make it work when it's literally just the same people was Nick Fury at the end of Iron Man because there was no next thing yet. You know,
Yeah.
and then because what did you do? The next movie after that was the Hulk. They didn't know what the fuck was going on with that yet. But what did they do at the end of the Hulk? They had Robert Downey Jr. come back because I think the next movie after that was Iron Man 2. So it makes sense. It's Robert Downey Jr. because the next movie, Iron Man, you know, what happened at the end of Iron Man? Teaser for the hammer in Thor. And I think that was filmed from Thor. You know, what was the scene after that? Captain America waking up in America. You know what I mean? It works better when you do it that way. Not, I know I was the bad guy for this whole movie, but some shit's gonna happen, guys. You couldn't have had Sam visiting Baron Zemo at least. That's at least a nod to comic fans with the Thunderbolts. You know, something. Or at least have, you know, a phone call to Bucky. And Bucky being like, oh, what was her name? Del Fontaine or whatever?
Yes.
And him being like, man, she's really pissing me off in these impeachment hearings or something. You know, you could have made it tie in better, guys.
Yeah. And then all the new Avengers shit they were doing after the movie had come out and been out for a week or whatever, replacing posters with the new Avengers, I thought was cool. There was a video where Sebastian Stan was putting up new posters that say the new Avengers. So even that asterisk, which I thought originally the reason why the asterisk was there was it was funny because they all didn't agree on the name. I thought it was going to be kind of one of those things. By the end of the movie, nobody agrees on the name. It's just kind of Red Guardian's name for them. So it's an asterisk because it's not really the name. It's just that's what he calls us sort of thing. But I like how, no, that really was an asterisk because that's only a temporary name. The name is the new Avengers. So all of that was cool. Like, and again, back to some of that old Marvel magic. I missed when they were doing extra shit like that. Or a random video on YouTube would come out with Thor having a roommate in an apartment, or like, you know, when they were doing fun shit like this, we were also having fun. So another just kind of thing, cool thing. It's a little thing, but it feels like we're having fun again, man. And I just want to see, and that's the kind of stuff you get hopeful for when you see it.
Yeah, but it also shows that the world or the universe doesn't have to be at stake every fucking movie. That sometimes, even leading into the end, like I said, there's 3 movies in phase 6. So leading into the end of this whole, you know, secondary phase of, or a secondary saga, I should say, the multiverse saga, which is phases 4, 5, and 6, culminating into the end of that, you're ending phase 5 with just some slim down shit. Yeah, New York was kind of fucked for a little bit, but, you know, it wasn't, guys, if we don't stop him, in 30 minutes, he'll take over the world with his voidness. Or if we don't stop him, the multiverse is going to collapse on itself and destroy all life as we know it. Like, sometimes it's just okay for it to be like a little bit. I would have been fine if it was just like a block. Even if he hadn't spread to all of New York, just a block would have been fine. Like, that's still, a whole city block disappearing is threatening enough, really. Like, let's be real. That's a lot. In New York, that's a lot of people.
I know, experiencing their worst moments in life. Man.
Dude, who's going to be doing therapy for New York's got what, 10 million people in it, if not more? How many people are in New York City? Let's look that up.
That's a lot of people.
8.25 million. 8.25 million people going to need hella therapy. And it's fucked too, because every therapist there needs therapy too.
Yep.
Everyone. You know what would have been a cool scene? Seeing Valentina's nightmare. Because we got to see part of it, but see more of that. Like, show her cycling through it. What about her assistant? We could have seen more of her stuff.
Yeah.
That was a fun little character. Shout out to that person. She did good. That was a fun character.
Yeah, she was a fun character.
It was supposed to be what's her name originally? Sous Chef from The Bear. What's her name?
Io?
Yep.
Really?
She was originally cast back when Steven Yeun was also the Sentry.
I'm guessing a scheduling conflict then.
Yeah, because they did push this movie back.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was probably better for it. The original villain for this movie was going to be John Walker on extra super soldier serum.
No.
That wouldn't have been as good at all.
Yeah, so the original script for this had John Walker just constantly getting super soldiered by Valentina until he went more or less like the Hulk.
No.
And the Thunderbolts were going to have to take him down. Wouldn't that have been so fantastic, guys?
Don't do it. No. Don't.
But yeah,
and Wendell Pierce was cool too.
Well, yeah, he was. Very cool. He's always cool. This movie had so many people from The Wire in it.
It did, didn't it?
Because it also, the guy that was the head of the task force, that's the guy from season 2 of The Wire / also in True Blood. Yeah. He's been in tons of things. That guy's everywhere. Pretty sure he was in an episode of Psych. Could be wrong though. But I feel like he was. Heather, look it up.
It probably was. I don't know that guy's name though.
Oh my God, Heather, you kill me. Anyway, anything else? We got anything else for this here? Thunderbolts, asterisk, New Avengers. Thunderbolts,
No.
asterisk, hyphen, asterisk, New Avengers.
Question mark?
With a Z.
Yes. No, nothing else.
Not Avengers with a Z. No. The whole phrase with a Z. All right. On that note, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet at www.cinemaslayers.com. We're a Cinema Slayers podcast on Facebook, cinema_slayers on Threads, Instagram, and Letterboxd. We're at Cinema Slayers Pod on TikTok and YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating review. We really appreciate it. Really help us out. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your friends' family, tell your family's friends. And most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because dear sweet mothers love
Bucky on a bike.
or Yelena.
Yelena in general. Yep.
We here at the Cinema Slayers podcast are Pro Slut, Pro Sydney, Pro Naked, and Pro Steak Fingers. We already won one. So justice for Todd. Justice for stunt people, animators, and those caterers that make all our movie-going things possible. Did I forget it, Justice? Or am I just feeling off because we already got Justice for Chris?
It throws it off when you take one out. Like, we've had it on for so long. I think you're good. I think that was it.
You're good.
Todd's fucked, man. Oh, God, he's so fucked. Oh, he ain't getting justice till they reboot. Oh, I feel so bad for that man. Because also, they wrangled themselves out. We can't get any more just a Godzilla movie or just a King Kong movie. They have to be together every movie now. Oh, God. It's terrible.
I need him in space, don't I? I need Kong to get his spacesuit that they already had built in the lab and just waiting to give it to him. Can't wait.
I can't wait for Space Godzilla to show up so he can fight Space Kong and Astronaut Godzilla. Because if he's Space Godzilla, then I guess it's Astronaut Godzilla. Oh my God, Jastin, you just willed that into the universe, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
You fucking dick.
Godzilla gonna have a badass spacesuit.
How is he going to shoot his laser breath with a helmet on? How are we going to get atomic breath, Jastin?
This conversation is
Let me
Sterling's
sleep
void,
on it. I'll come
basically.
up with some bullshit for him.
It's all going to be some bullshit for him, Jastin. That's the problem. That's why Todd ain't getting no justice. Because it's all bullshit. Shout out to Plug Migo and Mundo Cho for our theme song and those respectively. And as I end the TikToks, the YouTube videos, and most importantly, this podcast, just remember, according to Jastin, the MCU's own Moon Knight is a Best Picture winner.
Update. That guy's name is Chris Bauer. He was not in sight, but he was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes. He played the negotiator in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes. In the Doug Judy episode.
Yeah. One of the Doug Judy episodes. Was he in
How did Robert Downey Jr. leave and come back before we got Blade?
Oh, boy.
This motherfucker done left and come back as somebody else. And we still ain't got no Blade.
Blade was supposed to be phase 5. And we just ended it.
This fool came in as Iron Man, did the whole thing, died, coming back as Dr. Doom and no Blade. Is that going to just become a running joke like the GTA 6 joke? Like,
dude, we got more GTA footage today.
Yeah.
They're going to announce, like, how are we getting...
What's GTA?
Grand Theft Auto.
Theft Auto.
So we're getting Grand Theft Auto footage and still no Blade. Jastin, is Grand Theft Auto 6 going to come out before Blade?
Man.
Because I don't think they have a release date. I think they just kind of have it's going to happen. Like, here's some footage.
Sterling Rudy. Robert Downey Jr. left and came back.
Rudy.
I was saying Rudy Downey Jr. It doesn't sound as well. Doesn't sound as good. But he left and came back, Sterling.
Oh no. Jastin.
And he's going to be Dr. Doom before Blade.
Do we need to start saying justice for Blade? Is that one of our next causes, justice for Blade?
Maybe.
We might have to.
This poor character. Oh, anyway. Anything else, guys?
No.
Can't wait for next week in our ASIF. And you'll find out what that means in advance. What I mean by ASIF. Because you got a big old ASIF coming for you. Oh, did you guys see that they put in a poster for that the Conjuring, the Last Rites or whatever?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's happening. I think there's even a trailer. I can't wait to hate that movie. Anyway, all right, I'm out.